Chapter 351. Chrysanthemum. The process of diagnosing wasn't a child's play. One mustn't be negligent in it. All the other party did was to walk over and touch the savage beast. Without even examining the savage beast's fur, physical condition, heartbeat, or breathing rate, he came back. What was this? Don't tell me that you are already done examining the other party's condition, and you already have a solution for the matter. Mo Xianxia and Mo Yu were perplexed. They couldn't tell what Guild Leader Liu was up to. After he returned to their side, they thought that he would say something, but to their frustration, he simply stood on the spot and fell into a daze. Without examining anything, he touched the other party and fell into a daze. Even Grandmaster Lin Dao, who had seen innumerable diagnoses from different top-notch physicians before, was perplexed. Cough cough, Guild Leader Liu, can the gold-tailed lion be saved? They waited for a very long time, but the other party's face only brightened and darkened periodically. Unable to stand the anxiety any longer, Mo Xianxia asked, "You should at least tell me whether there is hope or not. Are you trying to kill us with anxiety by standing there?" "Oh, I've a few items that I need, so I'll have to trouble you to prepare them as soon as possible." Recovering from his daze, Zhong Xian instructed with a grim expression. "Yes." Mo Xianxia nodded. Boneless flour, gold blood venom, 3,000 worm blood. Zhong Xian casually listed a few medicinal substance. "These are all poison." Mo Xianxia thought that the other party would list out nourishing medicinal substances, but contrary to his expectations, all of the items the other party listed possessed lethal poison. Just hearing those names sent shivers down Mo Xianxia's spine. I need them." Zhong Xian replied. "Can these poisonous substances really treat the gold-tailed lion's illness?" Mo Xianxia was perplexed. The gold-tailed lion was reaching the end of its life, and it even went on a rampage several times to express its frustration. Logically speaking, they should be feeding it nourishing medicinal herbs so that it could regain its spirit and recover. Why would you look for these poisonous substances instead? "Father, let's just listen to Guild Leader Liu's words. Since he asked you to obtain these material, he must have a use for them." Sensing her father's hesitation, Mo Yu immediately urged him telepathically. Having witnessed Zhong Xian's treatment of the great Herb King, she knew that the latter possessed astonishing means. Since he asked for her father to prepare these poisonous substances, he must have a plan in mind. "All right." Agreeing to the matter, Mo Xianxia waved his hand. A split moment later, a grey-robed man appeared, and Mo Xianxia issued several instructions to him. The Qianwu royal family possessed exceptional efficiency in getting things done. It didn't take them long to gather all of the required medicinal substances. "Guild Leader Liu, what should we do now?" Seeing the bunch of poisonous substances placed on top of a huge table, the corners of Mo Xianxia's lip twitched and he hurriedly averted his gaze. Just any single one of these medicinal substances was sufficient to poison a Xianxia realm expert to death. But at this moment, dozens of them were piled up together. Mo Xianxia truly couldn't imagine a use for these items. "Do you have any pikes? Prepare 36 of them for me." Instead of answering, Zhong Xian listed another request. Pikes were a common weapon used by the guards in the royal palace, so it wasn't too difficult to gather them. A few minutes later, a pile of pikes was stacked up in the courtyard. "Prepare another 40 cows and lambs. Slaughter them and fill their blood in buckets." Zhong Xian continued instructing. Even though Mo Xianxia had no idea what was going on, he didn't think that Guild Leader Liu would do pointless things. Thus, he had his men prepare those as well. Soon, when everything was in place, Zhong Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Walking over to the table of medicinal substances that the other party had collected, he smacked on the table. "Who?" A dozen of medicinal substances immediately flew into the air. Zhong Xian closed his palms together, and with a burst of Xianxia, he crushed them all into medicinal powder and mixed them together one by one. The final product was a green powder which sent one's goosebumps rising. Without a doubt, this powder, which comprised more than a dozen of lethal poisons, was incredibly potent. If a half-Shizuan were to get a whiff of it, he would at least pass out for half a day. This is the concoction method of a poison master? Could it be that Guild Leader Liu is a poison master? As the poison powder flew around the place, they reacted with one another, causing the substance to change colors continuously. Mo Xianxia and Grandmaster Lin Dao stared at the sight warily. Poison masters possessed the might to kill those who possessed a cultivation realm beyond them. Liu Cheng's cultivation could be considered as negligible in comparison to theirs, but the notoriety of poison masters was simply too deeply ingrained in their minds. No one knew what kind of poison he was concocting, and there was a chance that they might end up dead if they were to be negligent at this point. There were many such precedents, and this was also the reason why this occupation was extremely feared by many. The fact that guild leader Liu was able to fuse so many lethal medicinal substances together so casually showed that he had a comprehensive knowledge over the properties of these medicinal substances, and he had an extremely high control over his concoction skills. Could he really be a poison master? Formidable physicians dabble in poison for their treatment as well. It isn't surprising for him to know a thing or two about the properties of poisonous medicinal substances. Sensing the doubt of the duo, Mo Yu sent a telepathic message to them. Physicians and poison masters were actually two sides of the same coin. Both of them utilized medicinal herbs, but one used it to save lives while the other one used it to claim lives. It was said that the very first poison master was initially an extremely proficient physician. After his wife was killed by his enemies, his personality became warped and he started to research lethal poison to exact vengeance. Eventually, he wiped out the entire clan of his enemies, and before his death, he left behind a book, The Art of Poison. Of course, as it was too long in the past, no one could verify the authenticity of this legend. Even so, this legend clearly indicated that there were many points of overlap between physicians and poison masters. As such, it wasn't too surprising for formidable physicians to be capable of concocting poison either. I'm done. Just as the trio was discussing, the young man finally came to a stop. He was done concocting the poison powder, and he casually threw it into the pail by the side. The clear water within the pail immediately turned dark gray. After doing all of these, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. He circled around the gold-tailed lion before stopping finally before Grandmaster Lin Dao. Is there a way to activate the confinement formation quickly? Activate the confinement formation quickly. Lin Dao was stunned. UN. Xianxia nodded. Back then, when he was at the Beast Hall, he had the opportunity to see a formation being activated, and it seemed to be a troublesome process requiring much preparatory work. It'll be best if you can do so within half a breath. After contemplating for a moment, Xianxia added, half a breath. Lin Dao nearly choked on his own saliva. How is that possible? Given the size of this Grade 3 formation, it would require a minimum 8 Xianxia realm pinnacle experts infusing Xianxia into the formation simultaneously at 8 different locations to activate. Only when their Xianxia has completely fused with the formation will the formation be triggered. Even with the fastest method, it'll at least take 10 minutes. 10 minutes. UN. If one possesses the strength of a Zhizuan realm cultivator, one would be able to activate it alone, and the time taken will be significantly reduced as well. Even so, it'll still be impossible to activate it without 2 to 3 minutes. Lin Dao was completely speechless. Do you really know formations? The triggering of a formation may sound simple, but it requires one to infuse Xianxia to drive and stimulate the formation. This process is extremely complex and troublesome to carry out. Anyone who had the slightest understanding of formation would understand this. As a person capable of pausing a Grade 3 formations with a single kick, how could you not know this? That is too long. Xianxia frowned. Do you have any better ideas? I do, just that. I can't do it alone. Lin Dao said hesitantly. Oh, tell me about it. Xianxia hurriedly turned to look at him. Every single formation has a core, and that is where the entire formation is centered around. If one infuses Xianxia directly into that spot, the formation can be activated swiftly. This is also the fundamental principle behind how formation plates works. At this point, Lin Dao suddenly looked slightly awkward. However, you should know that only 3-star formation masters are capable of inscribing on a formation plates. I'm only a 2-star pinnacle formation master, so I'm still a little lacking in that aspect. In truth, Formation plates were created through using a special method to compress massive formations into a small personal object that one could bring around conveniently. When the need comes, one just has to infuse Xianxia into it. Even if one wasn't a formation master, one could still activate it easily. While its prowess was significantly lacking as compared to a real formation, its strength lay in its ability to be activated instantaneously. Furthermore, due to its convenience in carrying around, many people use it as a survival mean. Mo Yu had one on her as well. This was also the main reason why Mo Xianxia was willing to allow her to explore outside on her own. You mean that as long as I find the core of the formation, I'll be able to activate the formation quickly? Xianxia asked. That's right. Lin Dao nodded. But while that's the case, it isn't that easy to find the core of the formation. Different from a formation plate, where the core is fixed at a certain point, the formation core of huge formations tend to change depending on the geography and time. Even I am unable to find it, less to say, activate the formation through it. Oh! At this moment, Xianxia froze for a split moment before turning to look at a specific point in space. Then, without any hesitation, he picked up a pike and walked up to the gold-tailed lion. With a swift jerk, he dipped the pike into the bucket of lethal poison, and a sizzling sound could immediately be heard from the surface of the pike, as though the metal was being corroded. Go! Raising his eyebrows, Xianxia took out the venom-soaked pike, pulled it back, and threw it with a swift motion. Sue! As though a javelin, the pike flew out with astonishing strength and impaled the body of the sleeping gold-tailed lion. Ah! They were just wondering what the other party was going to do when this sight abruptly unfolded before them. Cold sweat immediately gushed down Mo Xianxia, Lin Dao, and Mo Yu's bodies. That was lethal poison. Putting aside whether the guardian beast would be poisoned to death for the moment, this was a direct provocation to the other party. This fellow already had been in an unstable condition recently, going around eating others. If it were to fly into a temper at this moment, wouldn't it slaughter everyone? Roar! As expected, before they could recover from their shock, a furious roar reverberated in the air. The sleeping gold-tailed lion abruptly opened its eyes, and its large eyes instantaneously turned scarlet. We're done for. Upon seeing this sight, their hearts turned cold. Huala! Lowering his head, the gold-tailed lion saw the pike stabbed into its body. In an instant, its fury surged and it bellowed deafeningly, tremoring the heavens. Standing up, its massive figure, reminiscent of a small hill, became even more pronounced. Even without making a move, the immense pressure that it exerted had already made their legs go weak. Guild leader Liu, danger! Mo Yu shouted anxiously. Even a Xianxia realm pinnacle expert like her father couldn't withstand the wrath of the gold-tailed lion. The other party was only at Xianxia realm primary stage, so how could he possibly survive an attack from it? She thought that the young man would retreat immediately after hearing her voice, but contrary to her expectations, the other party simply picked up another pike, soaked it in venom, and tossed it once more. On top of that, the area which he was aiming for was the orifice at the end of the gold-tailed lion's alimentary canal. Pooh! The pike accurately stabbed straight into the opening, and fresh blood immediately gushed frenziedly along the body of the pike. Roar! This time, it wasn't just the gold-tailed lion who went into a frenzy. Mo Xianxia, Lin Dao, Mo Yu found the boundaries of their sanity being forcefully pushed on. It had just barely opened its eyes to identify the arrogant aggressor who dared to attack it when this fellow grabbed a pike and tossed it into the end of its alimentary canal. Rage immediately clouded its mind. Huala! It immediately swept its massive tail straight toward Xianxia. Due to its astounding speed, a sonic boom burst the air. Seemingly aware that it would react in this manner, Xianxia didn't panic. Instead, with a swift leap, he dashed to the spot around a dozen meters away where he glanced momentarily at just a moment ago and forcefully kicked at it. Huala! Along with the sound, the vision before Mo Xianxia, Mo Yu, and the others blurred. The formation had activated once more, concealing the interiors of the courtyard. The formation has been activated. Grandmaster Lin Dao widened his eyes. Chrysanthemum, or Juhua in Hanyu Pinyin, is a slang referring to the opening of a human's alimentary canal. Chapter 352, Cured to be able to activate the formation instantly, this could only mean one thing. That fellow had found the core of the formation. During that conversation, Grandmaster Lin Dao could tell that the other party didn't even know what a formation core was. Yet, right after that, the other party immediately found the formation core and even made use of it. Is this for real? Grandmaster Lin Dao's body shuddered, and he felt as though he was about to faint. The location of the formation core would change along with a change in one's surroundings. Even for a 3-star primary stage formation master like the clan head, without a compass and careful observation, it was impossible to find it. Yet, without using any tools at all, this fellow simply pranced about and, with a single kick, the formation immediately activated. Even though he was seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but doubt if he was dreaming. He thought that he had a huge leverage as a formation grandmaster against the Tongshen realm lad. But after seeing this sight, tears threatened to flow down from his eyes. Guild Master Liu, are you the formation grandmaster, or am I the formation grandmaster? Why do I feel like nothing but a fool before you? Roar! 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 With the activation of the formation, Mo Xianxia and the others couldn't see the situation inside anymore. However, they could hear the infuriated roaring of the gold-tailed lion, as though there was something happening within which sent it into a frenzy. Dozens of breaths later, all sound from within disappeared. Let's go over and take a look. Anxious, Mo Xianxia and the others hurried forward. They weren't too far away from Guildmaster Liu and the gold-tailed lion, and with Lin Dao leading the way, they were able to walk past the mist without triggering the formation on them. Soon, when they reached their destination, the sight before them left their eyebrows twitching furiously, and for a moment, they thought that they would go insane. The gold-tailed lion, whom the young man was supposed to save, had pierced pikes all over its body, be it its nose, ears, end of the alimentary canal. Fresh blood flowed furiously down each of the 36 pikes, dyeing the entire ground crimson. The imposing gold-tailed lion which was roaring non-stop a moment ago was so drained at this moment that it couldn't even open its eyes, and its breathing was nearly imperceptible. Guild Leader Liu. Mo Xianxia felt his veins popping out, and he nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. The reason why I invited you over is to treat the guardian beast, not to kill it. Isn't it just your first meeting with it? Yet, you threw so many pikes toward it that it looked no different from a feather duster at this point. More importantly, every single one of these pikes was laced with lethal poison. You must be truly adamant to kill it. What grudge do you have with it for you to kill it so mercilessly? Rage bubbled in Mo Xianxia's chest, and he clenched his fist tightly in anger. If he didn't give his all to hold himself back, he would have surely rushed forward to crush that fellow with his fist. Even though the guardian beast didn't have long to live and it had hurt some people when it went on a rampage previously, it had protected Qianwu Kingdom from harm for past several centuries. Mo Xianxia carried deep respect for it. Treating the guardian beast like that was as good as an insult to him. With a steeled face, he looked at the young man. The other party's face was slightly pale, and he seemed to be slightly sapped of energy. Upon seeing the trio, the young man heaved a sigh of relief. He weakly sat onto the floor and said, "Its illness is extremely hard to treat, but fortunately, I managed to accomplish what that was asked of me." Accomplish what that was asked of you? Seeing the other party's confident smile, Mo Xianxia was taken aback. Did he misunderstand him? Was he really treating the gold-tailed lion? As this thought slowly surfaced in his head, he subconsciously turned to look at the guardian beast. However, with this glance, his rage surged once more. The gold-tailed lion, which was still roaring furiously a moment ago, had its eyes tightly shut as it laid limply on the floor. Even its breathing seemed to have disappeared altogether. The gold-tailed lion is dead. Mo Yu and Grandmaster Lin Dao also realized that something was amiss, and turning their heads to take a look, their eyeballs nearly popped out from their sockets. You were brought here to treat the guardian beast, not to kill it. Accomplish what that was asked of you. Accomplish your head. You mean that you came here with the intention to kill it? Guild Leader Liu, what do you mean by this? Suppressing his fury forcefully, Mo Xianxia glared fixedly at the fellow before him. He had sincerely invited the other party over in hopes that the other party could create a miracle and allow the guardian beast to live a little longer. Never in his dreams did he expect that not only did the other party fail to cure it, he even went on to kill it. If not for the considerations he held for the other party's identity, he would have ordered his men to tear this fellow into innumerable pieces already. What do you mean by those words? I have completed my treatment. Seemingly oblivious to the other party's rage, Xianxia answered calmly. It's fortunate that my treatment went well. Went well. Mo Qianxue's eyebrows twitched. Killing your patient is a sign that things went well? You aren't a physician but a murderer. Cough cough. Guild leader Liu, why isn't the gold-tailed lion breathing? Is it dead? Seeing that her father was about to erupt at any moment, Mo Yu hurriedly stepped forward and intervened. Dead. Only at this moment did Xianxia realize why everyone had such a grim expression on their faces. Shaking his head, he said, I'm here, how can it possibly die so easily? Saying so, he walked toward the gold-tailed lion and kicked it. Stop feigning death. Hurry up and get up. Roar. Being kicked on its face, the seemingly dead gold-tailed lion seemed to be shocked into action. With a furious roar, its golden fur trembled. Su 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 su. All of the pikes stabbed into its body flew out, dropping onto the ground. Drink these pails of blood. Xianxia casually pointed. He had asked for Mo Qianxue to prepare the fresh blood of cows and goats beforehand, and they were stored in the wooden pails placed not too far away. The gold-tailed lion hurried forward and gulped them down. Soon, after consuming the blood in those pails, the gold-tailed lion seemed to have recovered considerably. Compared to its withered look from before, it looked extremely spirited at the moment. Seeing this sight, Mo Qianxue and the others felt as though they were dreaming. For a moment, they were completely dumbfounded. Despite having 36 pikes laced with lethal poison impaling it, not only did the gold-tailed lion manage to survive, it was even revitalized. What in the world was going on? Furthermore, didn't its breathing clearly stop just now? Why did it suddenly come to life after a kick? This guild leader Liu had dashed a total of 3 kicks. The first one, he stopped the formation. The second one, he activated the formation. And the third one, the gold-tailed lion came to life. It felt as though every single one of his kicks possessed mystical powers, astonishing everyone with its fearsome might every single time. Guild leader Liu. Seeing that the vitality of the gold-tailed lion had recovered significantly, Mo Qianxue couldn't help but utter with a doubtful tone. Are you curious about what is going on? Xianxia chuckled. Actually, the gold-tailed lion wasn't afflicted with any illness, it was poisoned. Poisoned. Mo Qianxue was taken aback while Grandmaster Lin Dao's face distorted in terror. Someone actually dared to poison the guardian beast of Qianwu Kingdom? Who is it? And how did the person do it? Under normal circumstances, the tail of the gold-tailed lion should be golden. However, there are slight traces of white at the tip previously. This shows that it isn't just an ordinary illness. Xianxia explained. Hearing these words, Mo Qianxue and the others suddenly recalled seeing traces of white at the end of the gold-tailed lion's tiger. You said that it went on a rampage. But if it truly went on a rampage, how could it possibly stop right after eating a few eunuchs and maids? This contradicts the very idea of a rampage. Clearly, it still possesses rationality. Xianxia continued, given these two factors, I deduce that it must have fallen prey to some lethal poison, and in an attempt to cope with it, it forced the poison to the tip of its tail, thus inducing the traces of white. The crowd was taken aback. That's right. If it had truly gone on a complete rampage, it would surely attack everyone it saw. It was illogical for it to stop at just a few insignificant eunuchs and maids. Could it be that these maids and eunuchs were the ones who poisoned it? That's why it killed them out of anger. A thought suddenly appeared in Mo Yu's mind. Given the guardian beast's half-Jizuan realm cultivation, there was no one in Qianwu Kingdom who could force poison on it. The only viable method was to spike its food. And the most plausible culprits for it were the eunuchs and maids who served it. That's right. Xianxia nodded. Without any contractee, it is unable to express its thoughts. As such, it killed these eunuchs and maids to exact vengeance, as well as to tell you that these people are suspicious. Yet, you thought that it had gone insane and even used a formation to confine it. Mo Qianxue's face flushed. When the guardian beast ate those eunuchs and maids, he was horrified, thinking that the latter had gone insane. It happened that guild leader Lin was beside him then, so he immediately requested for the latter to set up a formation to confine it without giving it much thought. He didn't expect that the other party was actually trying to express such intent. Even though the poison it was afflicted with was potent, it is still a powerful half-Xizuan realm savage beast possessing centuries of lifespan. This was what that allowed it to hold on all this while. However, just like what physician Mu Hong and the others had said, it wouldn't survive past 3 months at this rate. It wouldn't be difficult to treat this poison in its earlier stages, but in the gold-tailed lion's case, the poison had already permeated through the meridians across its entire body, making treatment difficult. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to counteract the poison with another poison. That's why I got you to prepare all of those poisonous substances and used a pike to insert the venom into the locations where the poison was gathered. It is fortunate that I managed to accomplish what you asked of me and saved it. Zhong Xian smiled. After placing his hand on the other party's body, he immediately found out what poison the gold-tailed lion was suffering from. He had seen this poison in the books of the poison hall before, and he knew that to treat it, he would have to counteract its poison with another one. Knowing all of these, the rest was simple. He just had to neutralize the poison spread across the other party's body by inserting venom of his own, but of course, if it was anyone else, such a feat would have been impossible. The poison had already spread across its entire body, accumulating in many different meridians. It would be impossible to even identify the locations where the poison had settled down in, thus making it even more impossible to solve the problem. After all, if the venom were to be injected into the wrong locations, not only would it fail to neutralize the poison in the gold-tailed lion's body, it would even poison it to death. However, possessing the Library of Heaven's Path, Zhong Xian could clearly see all 36 of the locations where the poison was accumulated. All he had to do was to aim the pike accurately at the right location. As for the cow and goat blood, it was for the gold-tailed lion to regain its vitality after suffering such a massive loss of blood. After hearing the explanation, Mo Qianxue and the others widened their eyes in shock. At this moment, they felt nothing but admiration for the young man before them. It was no wonder why he could solve all of the problems on the Wall of Dilemma and become the new guild leader of the Physician Guild. His medical skill was simply too formidable. It was hard to believe that anyone could possess such capability even though they were seeing one right before them. Even though I have neutralized the lethal poison it is suffering from, it is true that its lifespan is reaching its end. While it is still fine for the time being, it won't live beyond a year, unless... Zhong Xian hesitated for a moment before saying, it achieves a breakthrough into Xizuan realm. Achieves a breakthrough in Xizuan realm. Mo Qianxue's breathing suddenly hastened. Does Guild Leader Liu have a solution to that? Chapter 353. Xianxia Realm Pinnacle. Xizuan Realm stands at the very pinnacle of a fighter. At this level, a cultivator's physical body, Xianxia, and spirit will reach the limits of a mortal. However, it is extremely difficult to break through the barrier to reach this level. This is especially true for savage beasts, whose bloodline limits their progress. Without bloodline evolution, it is impossible for them to reach Xizuan realm. This was also the reason why the gold-tailed lion had been unable to achieve a breakthrough despite having guarded Qianwu Kingdom for 200 years. Otherwise, given the royal family's wealth and connections, it would have taken the final step long ago. It wouldn't have been stuck at half Xizuan all this while, unable to advance a single step forward. An idea. I do have one, but it will be expensive. Zhong Xian tilted his face upwards as the vicissitudes of life reflected in his eyes. As long as the gold-tailed lion is able to reach Xizuan realm, I am willing to pay any price. Mo Qianxue hurriedly replied. Once the guardian beast dies, Qianwu Kingdom would be at risk. On the other hand, if the guardian beast could reach Xizuan realm, not only would a crisis be averted, but the nation's strength would also be boosted as well. The clans who had been harboring great ambitions toward Qianwu Kingdom would have to rein themselves in. Thus, Mo Qianxue was willing to pay any price for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough. UN. Seeing the other party's attitude, Xian nodded in satisfaction. Turning to look at the others with the look of an expert unsullied by the material world, he continued, "It isn't exactly difficult, but it won't be easy either. I'll need spirit stones, and the more there are, the higher its chances of achieving a breakthrough. Also, I will require Xizuan realm cultivation technique manuals. There's no need for quality, I only require quantity. Similarly, the more there are, the better it is." Naturally, these two objects weren't for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough, but rather, preparation for the advancement of his own cultivation. He had already repaid the other party's favor by treating the gold-tailed lion's poison. It would be considered as another service if he were to help it to achieve a breakthrough, and naturally, he would have to collect a separate fee for it. However, his demand for spirit stones and secret manuals wasn't entirely for his own private reasons either. While the Heaven's Path Xianxia possessed the ability to cleanse a savage beast's bloodline, Xian's cultivation mustn't be too far from the other parties. Xian was capable of inducing a breakthrough in a Xianxia realm pinnacle savage beast to half Xizuan, but without reaching Xianxia realm pinnacle, it would be hard for him to raise the cultivation of the gold-tailed lion to Xizuan realm. If not for this limitation, Xian would be able to raise a savage beast's bloodline ceaselessly. He could have just raised the cultivation of the howling firmament beast continuously until it reached Xizuan realm pinnacle, and by then, no one would dare to cross his path even at a conferred kingdom. He wouldn't have to go through so much trouble here. In a sense, while the purpose of the spirit stones and Xizuan realm cultivation technique manuals was to raise his strength, it was also for the gold-tailed lion's breakthrough. Thus, Xian wasn't deceiving the other party. Spirit stones. The royal family does have some, but there's only 5 of them. Upon hearing what Xian required, even though Xianxia was perplexed, he still answered honestly. As for Xizuan realm cultivation technique manuals, we don't have a single one of them. Only 5 spirit stones? And not even a single Xizuan realm cultivation technique manual? Yes. Only conferred kingdoms have the right to trade spirit stones. The few spirit stones that our Qianwu kingdom possesses were obtained by paying a heavy price, and throughout the years, we have been using them to reward meritorious subjects and to befriend talents, so we are running low on supply. As for Xizuan realm cultivation techniques, due to the restrictions on Tier 1 kingdoms and the lack of resources, it is impossible for one to reach this cultivation realm. Thus, these cultivation technique manuals are useless to us, and possessing them may even bring a calamity upon us. Xianxia said awkwardly. Spirit stones are too valuable, they are limited in supply even in conferred kingdoms, needless to say, a Tier 1 kingdom like Qianwu Kingdom. In truth, it was already a sizable fortune to possess 5 of them in their treasury. As for Xizuan realm cultivation technique manuals, there wasn't a single Xizuan realm cultivator in Qianwu Kingdom, so where could they find a cultivation technique of this level? Besides, if a Xizuan realm expert were to appear in Qianwu Kingdom, it would definitely alarm the conferred kingdoms and potentially bring calamity upon them. 5. So be it then. Pass them to me. I will think of a way to help it achieve a breakthrough. Even though Xian thought that it was a pity that he could only obtain 5 spirit stones, he still nodded in agreement. Even though his demand for spiritual energy would increase as his cultivation increased, based on his calculations, since 1 spirit stone was sufficient for him to reach Xianxia realm intermediate stage, 6 should be sufficient for him to reach Xianxia realm pinnacle. I'll be depending on guild leader Liu then. Upon hearing that 5 spirit stones were sufficient, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. With a flick of his wrist, a long jade box appeared in his hand, and he passed it to the other party. Xian opened the box and saw 5 spirit stones placed side by side. The spiritual energy in the air suddenly surged due to the presence of the 5 spirit stones, stimulating his pores. An indescribable sense of comfort wrapped around his body. Casually keeping the box in his storage ring, Xian nodded in satisfaction. Guild leader Liu, do you need anything else? What about pills? Xianxia asked. Blood evolution is an incredibly complicated process. Even the more formidable beast tamers of the Beast Hall are unable to induce it in their tamed beasts. He couldn't imagine how the other party could help the gold-tailed lion smash through the final barrier blocking its way to Xizuan realm with just spirit stones. I don't need those. Instead, I need a secret chamber to make some preparations. Don't let anyone interrupt me. Zhongxian waved his hands casually. Yes. Mo Qianxue replied. Since the gold-tailed lion was already treated of its afflictions, the courtyard was now safe from danger. Thus, Mo Qianxue looked for a quiet room around the area and brought Zhongxian over before departing with Mo Yu and the others. After stepping out of the courtyard, Grandmaster Lin Dao immediately bided the others farewell and left in a hurry. Watching the other party disappear into the distance, Mo Qianxue's eyes abruptly narrowed. Father. Mo Yu turned to look at Mo Qianxue doubtfully. Seems like we have to be careful of the Lin clan. Mo Qianxue shook his head. Lin clan. Mo Yu was perplexed. Wasn't their relationship with the Lin clan amiable? Why would her father suddenly say such words? I suspect that the gold-tailed lion's poisoning is the Lin clan's doing. Mo Qianxue harumphed. As an emperor, he couldn't possibly be a useless wastrel. As soon as Zhongxian confirmed his diagnosis, he already had his own guesses. However, Mo Yu still found the matter hard to believe. The gold-tailed lion is the kingdom's guardian beast. If it were to die, who do you think would benefit the most? Mo Qianxue turned to look at Mo Yu. The royal family has a history tracing back more than 1,000 years, and its roots run deep. Even without the gold-tailed lion, we are able to destroy normal clans and powers easily, so its death won't affect our influence too much. Only the Lin clan is beyond our control. Without the gold-tailed lion keeping them in check, they might really. Analyzing the matter, Mo Yu's expression slowly turned grim. The Lin clan's clan head was a half-Xizuan realm expert. On top of that, they possessed numerous powerful formations, as well as the backing of Shenyuan conferred kingdom. If they were to lay their eyes on the throne, they had a good chance at realizing their ambitions. Furthermore, ordinary clans don't have the connections to obtain poison that is effective on a half-Xizuan savage beast. Besides, there truly aren't that many powers capable of planting spies in the royal palace and feeding the guardian beast poison beneath the emperor's eyes. When the gold-tailed lion flew into a frenzy, Lin Ruoqian happened to be in the royal palace, discussing certain matters with me. After the incident, I thought that it was a little too much of a coincidence. From the looks of it now, he had probably planned for it from the very start. As long as they trapped the gold-tailed lion in the formation and no physician was able to diagnose its condition, it would have been just a matter of time before it dies from the poison. Mo Qianxue clenched his fists. Initially, he didn't think much of the matter. However, upon learning that the guardian beast had been poisoned, he realized that all of the evidence pointed toward the Lin clan. But even if we know that it was him, what can we do? Lin Ruoqian's daughter is the princess consort of Shenyuan Kingdom. Mo Yu shook her head. Even though there was a great possibility that the poisoning was orchestrated by the Lin clan, they couldn't do anything to the other party. Putting aside the fact that Lin Ruoqian possessed the strength of a half-Xizuan expert, just her daughter's relationship with Shenyuan Kingdom made it impossible for any country to dare to touch him. Indeed. I can only hope that Guild Leader Liu is able to help the gold-tailed lion achieve a breakthrough. Once it reaches Xizuan realm, they will have to think twice before doing anything. Mo Qianxue said. Even though the Master-Teacher Pavilion doesn't interfere in the politics of a country, if one party operates immorally and brings great suffering to the people, it would definitely make a move. The Master-Teacher Pavilion's goal is to guide all men so that each and every one of them can become an expert. It is willing to overlook small fights, but if someone oversteps its moral boundary, regardless of who he is, it will destroy him. It is precisely out of fear of the Master-Teacher Pavilion that no one dares to dream of annexing all kingdoms and uniting the world. But of course, another reason was that some countries, such as Qianxian Kingdom, were simply too remote. What makes things worse was that it was too poor. Even if one were to annex it, one would still have to devote resources to developing it. No one was foolish enough to waste their efforts on such a pointless endeavor. Once the gold-tailed lion reaches Xizuan realm, the Lin clan would be forced to rein themselves in. I believe that Guild Leader Liu will succeed. Mo Yu said. She could still clearly remember the sight of Zhongshi's beast pummeling taming method inducing a break though in the viridescent eagle. Perhaps this seemingly omnipotent young man could create another miracle and tide Qianwu Kingdom through this crisis. Let's hope so. Mo Qianxue nodded. However, he suddenly recalled something and looked at Mo Yu doubtfully. Xiao Yu, I thought that you didn't get along well with Liu Laosha? Why does your viridescent eagle seem to be intimate with him? Also, you seem to know a lot about him as well. Mo Yu's face slightly turned red. How could I possibly know him well? I'm just casually saying all these. Regardless of what you're thinking of, I'll still say the same few words. Grasp this opportunity. Guild leader Liu is an exceptional person, and if you can grasp his heart, it wouldn't just be a dream for Qianwu Kingdom to advance to a conferred kingdom. Mo Xianxia continued, but of course, there's Xianxia as well. Regardless of which one, it's enough for you to grasp just one of them. Grasp one of them. Mo Yu slapped her forehead. I would also like to grasp one of them, but the two of them seems to be the same person. In a quiet chamber in the gold-tailed lion's courtyard, seated cross-legged, Xianxia rested for a long period of time before he finally recovered from the fatigue he incurred from treating the gold-tailed lion. Then, with a flick of his wrist, a spirit stone appeared on his palm. Time to begin. After adjusting his physical condition, Xianxia turned his attention toward raising his cultivation. He began to drive his Xianxia using the Xianxia Realm Heaven's Path Divine Art, Gugu. The Heaven's Path Divine Art swiftly extracted spiritual energy from the Spirit Stone, refined it into Xianxia, and gathered it in his Dantian. At the same time, Xianxia's cultivation rose swiftly. Xianxia Realm Intermediate Stage Pinnacle. Xianxia Realm Advanced Stage. Xianxia Realm Advanced Stage Pinnacle. Boom! About an hour later, Xianxia's Dantian jolted. It felt as though he had struck some kind of wall, and a violent might gushed through his entire body. Slowly, a powerful aura began to emanate from his body. He was more than twofold stronger than before, and he could feel boundless strength surging through his body. Huala! Sensing the raging and powerful Xianxia in his body, Xianxia abruptly stood up with glowing eyes. Xianxia Realm Pinnacle. I'm finally here. Chapter 354. Come, beat me up. Catcher, catcher. With a swift jerk, a sonic boom sounded. Taking a few steps forward, Xianxia appeared before the strength-measuring rock pillar prepared for the guardian beast to test its strength, and threw a punch on it. Wang! Light shimmered on its surface. Several digits slowly floated into appearance. 5,000. In Xianxia Realm, one's strength had already exceeded 1,000 ding. Under normal circumstances, a Xianxia Realm primary stage cultivator would possess a strength of 1,000 ding, an intermediate stage cultivator would possess a strength of 2,000 ding, an advanced stage cultivator would possess a strength of 3,000 ding, and a pinnacle cultivator would possess a strength of 4,000 ding. When Xianxia was at half Xianxia, his strength was already at 1,500 ding. Upon reaching Xianxia Realm Pinnacle, his strength surged tremendously, reaching the level of 5,000 ding. With such strength, he could already compete with an average half-Zhizuan expert. However, it's a pity that I don't have enough spirit stones. Otherwise, my strength wouldn't possibly amount to just 5,000. While Xianxia was excited by his newfound strength, he was also slightly disappointed by the results. The 6 spirit stones that he had obtained from Mo Qianxue and Prince Fei Xian had all been reduced to dust. Just like what he had thought, the further one advanced in one's cultivation, the greater the number of spirit stones required to achieve a breakthrough. In the past, a single spirit stone was more than enough for him to advance from Xianxia Realm primary stage to intermediate stage, but now, even 6 of them was barely sufficient for him to reach Xianxia Realm Pinnacle. Judging from his current rate of consumption, Xianxia would require a minimum of 10 to several dozen of spirit stones to reach Zhizuan Realm. Seems like I have to find a way to earn more spirit stones. Xianxia rubbed his glabella. While the Heaven's Path Divine Art allowed him to cultivate swiftly, its demand for spiritual energy was also frightening. The purer a cultivator's Xianxia was, the greater the amount of spiritual energy required for a breakthrough. If he needed several dozen spirit stones to advance to Zhizuan Realm, wouldn't he require at least several hundred of them to reach Zhizuan Realm Pinnacle? Even a Tier 1 kingdom like Qianwu Kingdom had only a handful of it. Where in the world was Xianxia supposed to find so many spirit stones? To think that he naively thought the several dozen million of gold coins he had in his storage ring would make him a wealthy person. From the looks of it, he was still a poor bloke. Money and everything else was just fleeting material possessions. Spirit stones were the way to go. To think that a day has already passed. Looking out of the window, Xianxia realized that it was already the afternoon of the second day, and he couldn't help but be speechless. Curing the poison on the gold-tailed lion had expended a significant amount of his Xianxia and strength. Just the recovery, his energy, and conditioning his physical body had already taken a significant period of time. Including the time he had taken for his breakthrough, unknowingly, a day had already passed. I should start by helping the gold-tailed lion achieve a breakthrough. Stretching his back lazily, Xianxia ate the food that Xianxia had someone sent over before walking out of the chamber. Upon reaching Xianxia realm pinnacle, Xianxia's heaven's path Xianxia had become denser and purer, and he was now more than capable of inducing a bloodline evolution in that massive fellow. Guild leader Liu. Upon walking out of the room, he saw Xianxia and Mo Yu standing a short distance away. To think that they would be waiting for him outside. Whether the gold-tailed lion was able to achieve a breakthrough or not was intricately linked to the stability of Qianwu Kingdom. No matter how calm Xianxia was, it was impossible for him to not feel anxious over this matter. As such, he had been waiting here with Mo Yu ever since daybreak. Understanding their emotions, Xianxia wasn't surprised at all. Thus, he casually said, "Bring me to the gold-tailed lion." Guild leader Liu, I've already spoken to the gold-tailed lion about it. You can use your method to induce a breakthrough in its cultivation. Mo Yu flashed him a smile. My method? Xianxia was taken aback. Did Mo Yu know that his Xianxia could cleanse the bloodline of savage beasts? But that was impossible. Back then, when he helped the viridescent eagle achieve a breakthrough, he credited it to the ancient lightning cloud sparrow's blood. As for the steel fang howling firmament beast, it only achieved a breakthrough due to its physical condition then and the pill Mo Yu had forged. It should have been impossible for her to find out. Then, what did her words mean? With a grim expression, he was just about to ask about it when the lady beside her pointed forward. The gold-tailed lion is already prepared. Turning to take a look, Xianxia's eyelids twitched and he nearly keeled over. At this moment, the massive gold-tailed lion was bound by innumerable steel chains as though a dumpling, and it was staring at him resentfully. What the heck were they up to? Doubtful, Xianxia turned to Mo Yu and asked, "This is? What did tying this fellow up as though a dumpling have to do with my method?" He wasn't the only perplexed one. Xianxia was also on the verge of a mental breakdown. Early in the morning, his precious daughter had knocked on his door and said that in order for the gold-tailed lion to achieve a breakthrough, they had to bind it first. It took a long negotiation with the gold-tailed lion before he managed to persuade the latter to allow them to tie it up. But was it really possible for it to reach Xizuan realm just like that? If that was the case, why had he never heard of such a method? Your cultivation realm is only at Tongxian realm primary stage, and so, for the sake of your safety while you execute the beast pummeling taming method, we have no choice but to seal its movements. Mo Yu answered him seriously. Oh. Xianxia had a strange expression on his face. Back then, when he induced a breakthrough in the viridescent eagle, he had used the beast pummeling taming method. As such, she thought that he was going to use the same method this time around as well. Given that he was disguised as guild leader Liu who possessed a strength of Tongxian realm primary stage, he shouldn't be a match for the gold-tailed lion if it were to retaliate. That was why Mo Yu proposed to have the guardian beast bound. Cough cough. The other party had truly given him the fright of his life. To think that she was referring to this. Even though it looked unseemly, this was definitely a good idea. It could conceal his identity, as well as the ability of the Heaven's Path Xianxia in cleansing the bloodline of savage beasts. UN. Not bad, I'll begin now then. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Xianxia walked over to the bound gold-tailed lion. Xianxia hurriedly focused his attention on Xianxia, curious to see what the other party would do. His daughter had expressed her confidence in the other party's means, but until now, he was still unable to comprehend what the beast pummeling taming method was. The gold-tailed lion who laid on the floor with a resentful look seemed even more oblivious as to what that was about to happen. However, when it saw Xianxia walk over, gratitude brimmed in its eyes. If not for this physician, it would probably have died with deep regrets. Even though the opening of its alimentary canal still hurt at the moment, its body still felt a lot more relaxed now that the poison had been removed. With the strong regeneration capability savage beasts were blessed with, it should only take a couple more days before it made a full recovery. Just as it was about to cuddle up to its benefactor in gratitude, the man in question suddenly sent a kick in its direction without any warning whatsoever. Roar! The gold-tailed lion was stunned. "Aren't you going to help me raise my cultivation? Why are you kicking me instead?"
Bing, bing, bing.
Before it could react, the young man before it sent a few more powerful kicks toward it. Every single kick landed accurately on its wounds from yesterday, causing it to hiss through its gritted teeth in pain. "This is the beast pummeling taming method you spoke of." The corners of Mo Xianxia's mouth twitched. As the emperor of a Tier 1 kingdom, he was knowledgeable on many matters. He had the privilege of seeing how a beast tamer usually raised the strength of its tamed beast on several occasions, but to do so through a violent thrashing. Despite his advanced age, he had never heard of such a thing. "Rest easy, since it's guild leader Liu, there'll surely be no problem at all," Mo Yu said confidently. The sight of her viridescent eagle achieving a breakthrough after being beaten was still crystal clear in her mind. It shouldn't be too much trouble for him to do the same to this gold-tailed lion as well. But, despite his daughter's confidence, Mo Xianxia was still a little doubtful. "Look, the gold-tailed lion seems to have realized something." Knowing that this kind of absurd method was hard to accept, Mo Yu pointed to the gold-tailed lion. Mo Xianxia turned to look. The guardian beast who was still hissing in pain a moment ago was currently looking at Xianxia with eyes glowing in excitement. Despite being beaten up to the point that it was spewing blood and its body was trembling in pain, its eyes were filled with exhilaration. Mo Xianxia suddenly saw his own worldly horizons crumbling before him, and his mind went faint. Initially, the gold-tailed lion felt only excruciating pain from Xianxia's frenzied beating, but a few moments later, it noticed that something was amiss. What that came with every kick was a surge of Xianxia that cleansed its bloodline and raised its cultivation. At this moment, it couldn't be any more clear to it that the other party was sincerely trying to help it raise its cultivation. Thus, instead of retaliating, it focused all of its efforts into trying to absorb the Xianxia shot into its body to cleanse its bloodline. Boom! After absorbing many surges of Xianxia, it felt as though its bloodline had been cleansed to the limit, and under a violent buzzing sound, a powerful aura suddenly burst from its body. Xizuan realm. Roar! With a deafening roar, the gold-tailed lion stood up. Hualala! With a jerk of its massive body, the steel chains locking it in place immediately broke apart, falling onto the floor. It really managed to reach Xizuan realm. Mo Xianxia was dumbfounded. Despite witnessing the sight with his own eyes, he felt as though his brain was unable to cope. It was difficult for even a human cultivator to reach Xizuan realm, needless to say, a savage beast which was limited by its bloodline. Yet, with a frenzied beating, it managed to achieve a breakthrough. Wasn't this way too easy? Could it be that, even though it looked like guild leader Liu was frenziedly beating up the gold-tailed lion, he was actually opening up all of the restraints within its body in order to raise its strength? A thought suddenly popped up in his mind. He had read on an ancient manual that there were some formidable master teachers who could raise the cultivation of another by beating them. By striking a person on the right locations, they were able to knock open the jammed parts in a person's body, allowing their Xianxia to flow smoothly, thus raising their cultivation. The young man before him struck the gold-tailed lion to the point that it was spewing blood, and it looked as though it was on the verge of dying. Yet, the latter was still able to achieve a breakthrough successfully despite the overwhelming odds, so this might very well be the reasoning behind it. Since he was able to help a savage beast achieve a breakthrough via such a method, would it be possible for him to do the same to a human as well? As this thought popped into Mo Xianxia's mind, his eyes lit up with fervor. "I'm done." Upon seeing that the gold-tailed lion had achieved a breakthrough, Xianxia nodded in satisfaction. It seemed it was indeed possible for him to induce a breakthrough in a half-Xizuan realm savage beast with the Xianxia of a Xianxia realm pinnacle. Thus, Xianxia made a mental note to try it on the steel fang howling firmament beast later on as well. If that fellow was able to reach Xizuan realm as well, Xianxia wouldn't have to fear any opponent in Qianwu Kingdom anymore. Clapping his hands, He disregarded the look of gratitude in the eyes of the gold-tailed lion before him, and walked up to Mo Yu and Mo Xianxia instead. Guild leader Liu, thank you for helping the gold-tailed lion to achieve a breakthrough. I am truly grateful to you. Mo Xianxia bowed deeply and earnestly thanked Xian. It's nothing. Xian shook his head. He had already agreed to help the other party. Furthermore, he had accepted 5 spirit stones from the other party, so it was only right for him to return the favor. Seeing the other party brushing off the matter nonchalantly made Mo Xianxia even more confident of his conjecture. He hesitated for a brief moment before asking, if possible, I would like to ask Guild Leader Liu to help me on another matter. Oh. I've been stuck at Xianxia Realm Pinnacle for many years now, and no matter how hard I try, I've been unable to advance my cultivation. Guild Leader Liu, can you help me overcome my bottleneck as well? I don't ask of you to help me reach Xizuan Realm, just half Xizuan will be enough. Mo Xianxia stared at Xian expectantly, and his breathing inadvertently hastened. Help you overcome your bottleneck? Xian was taken aback. Indeed. Don't worry, I know what I should do. Mo Xianxia nodded. Looking at the other party's confident look, Xian was perplexed. What was this fellow up to? Could it be that the other party knew that he needed spirit stones, and he had a hidden stash in his possession? But at this moment, the other party picked up the steel chain on the floor and tied himself up tightly. Then, lying on the floor, he yelled excitedly, I'm ready. Come, beat me up. Xian. Chapter 355, The Promised Duel. Cough cough. Grabbing her forehead, Mo Yu nearly spurted a mouthful of blood. Xian's beast pummeling taming method is only suitable for savage beasts. What are you doing tying yourself up and lying on the ground? Besides, the reason why the gold-tailed lion was tied up was out of fear that it would panic and hurt him. As a human, you only have to hold yourself back. More importantly, what do you mean by beat me up? Those who don't know the reason might think that you are a masochist. Father, come up. With a slightly flushed face, Mo Yu hurried forward and helped him up. However, Mo Xianxia couldn't truly be blamed for behaving in such a manner. Seeing the guardian beast who he thought would be unable to achieve a breakthrough for the rest of its life, he began thinking about himself as well. If he were to succeed, the country could be brought to even greater heights. Over the past few years, the Lin clan and Mo Hongyi had been exerting heavy pressure on him, leaving him in a constantly tense state. Upon seeing the hope of achieving a breakthrough before him, how could he possibly hold himself back? Since the gold-tailed lion has already reached Xizuan Realm, I won't impose on you any longer. I still have matters to attend to, so I'll be taking my leave now. After explaining that his beast pummeling taming method was only suited for savage beasts, Xian clasped his fist and left. In truth, Xian was capable of helping the other party achieve a breakthrough. However, doing so would reveal his identity. On top of that, he had nothing to gain from doing it either. After taking a few steps, an aroma suddenly wafted through the air, and he saw Mo Yu running toward him. Xian, I said that I would bring you to watch a show yesterday. Judging from the time now, it should have already begun. Let's go together. A show? What's going on? Xian was perplexed by Mo Yu's words. You'll know once we get there. Mo Yu grinned like a gleeful fox. All right. Since the other party was unwilling to say anything, Xian didn't ask either. The duo proceeded out of the royal palace. Tianwu Academy. Zhao Wei and the others were here once more. The previous time they were here, Zhao Wei had fought with that braggart of a lady. The eventual draw had weighed on her mind since then. Thus, she had been diligently cultivating the sword art her grand teacher had taught her. At this moment, she had complete confidence that she would be able to defeat the other party and force her to apologize. That woman had only managed a draw due to her superior battle technique the previous time. Now that Zhao Wei has learned a sword art from grand teacher, that woman surely isn't a match anymore. Indeed. How dare she insult teacher? We must teach her a lesson. Zhengyang, Yuan Dao, and the others harumphed coldly. It was due to Zhong Laosha's guidance that they were able to reach such heights in their cultivation. They admired and respected him deeply, as though he was their faith. Yet, someone actually dared to doubt their belief, even claiming that he was inferior to what Liu Laoshi. How could they not be angry? What Liu Laoshi? Was he even worthy of being placed alongside Zhong Laoshi in the same sentence? UN. Wang Ying nodded as well, and her mouth slowly shaped into a pout. She might have a weak character, but if anyone were to insult Zhong Laoshi, she would be the first one to confront the other party. Soon, they arrived at the location promised for the duel. The usually remote sparring ring was filled with a crowd at the moment. Many students had heard of the news and come, curious to see whether the students of Zhongshu or the recently famous Liu Laoshi would be stronger. That woman is here. Xianxia pointed. The group turned over and saw Mu Xueqing, Meng Dao, and the others walking over. Deep confidence emanated from Mu Xueqing as she slowly walked over. She had tried out the saber art that Liu Laoshi had imparted her, and it was incredibly powerful. It was many times stronger than the battle techniques she had cultivated before. From the very start, that woman wasn't skilled in any battle techniques at all, and the only reason why it ended in a draw was due to her powerful Xianxia. Now that she had learned such a powerful battle technique, how could the other party withstand her offense? Zhongshu isn't at Qianwu Academy, and even if he is here, it is impossible for her to learn a saber art of my level in just 3 days. Thus, she is bound to lose today. The gazes of the two ladies met, and Mu Xueqing harumphed coldly in her mind. Seems like the two of them are very confident of themselves. Liu Changyang had arrived very early on, and upon seeing the expression of both the ladies, he narrowed his eyes. They must have learned even more formidable moves in the past 3 days to defeat the other party. Not too far away, Zhao Wuxing's expression was grim as well. As the two strongest experts among the younger generation in Qianwu Academy, they possessed an exceptional eye for such stuff. These two ladies were spirited, and they exuded powerful confidence and pride through their gestures. Clearly, they were well prepared. Who do you think will win this time? Liu Changyang turned to Zhao Wuxing and asked. I think that it'll be Mu Xueqing. The latter replied. Oh. Hearing this evaluation, Liu Changyang, as well as several other students around them, turned to look at Zhao Wuxing. They wanted to know the reason behind the opinion of the #1 student in the academy. After hearing that Liu Laoshi had solved the questions on the Wall of Dilemma perfectly and become the new guild leader of the Physician Guild, I went to their classroom to take a look yesterday and happened to see Mu Xueqing executing a saber art. Zhao Wuxing clenched his fists tightly, and cold sweat started trickling down his forehead. Honestly speaking, that saber art is truly formidable. Even I would be forced to kneel in defeat before it. Remembering the sight yesterday, Zhao Wuxing felt fearful. Yesterday, when he heard the conversation between Emperor Xianxia and Liu Laoshi, he had his men look into the matter and learned of the ruckus that Liu Laoshi had caused in the city. Impressed, he had visited their classroom and happened to witness Mu Xueqing executing the saber art that she had just learned. Every single movement of her saber was absurdly profound, and he found himself unable to decipher it at all. After simulating the other party's movements in his mind the entire night, to his helplessness, he realized that even if he were to use all of the techniques he knew, he would still be unable to avoid her attacks. It was simply too powerful. It was far beyond any single battle technique one could find in Qianwu Academy. Now that Mu Xueqing's powerful cultivation was paired with such a formidable saber art, who could possibly be her match? Senior Zhao admitted defeat. Doesn't this mean that Mu Xueqing is currently the strongest student in Qianwu Academy? That is way too fearsome. The crowd broke into a commotion. Zhao Wuxing had dominated the academy for several years, and countless students viewed him as their idol and goal. Yet, at this very moment, he was actually admitting his inferiority to Mu Xueqing. The uproar that would result from these words once it spreads was unimaginable. I don't agree with your evaluation. Liu Changyang shook his head. Mu Xueqing's saber art might be incredible, but I don't think that she would necessarily win today. Why? Hearing that his good friend didn't share his opinion, Zhao Wuxing turned to look at Liu Changyang. I don't know whether this Zhao Ya has become more powerful in the past 3 days or not, but I've looked into Zhongshu's matters in the past few days. If you were to know of the miracles he had created, you would also think that there is nothing impossible when he is involved. A look of respect appeared on Liu Changyan's face. He became a master teacher despite being under 20, and in the midst of doing so, he broke the numerous records that Mo Hongyi left behind. On top of that, he is also a 3-star painter and a Xianxia realm expert. More importantly, I heard that his current students had only come under him 2 months ago, and the total duration that he had been with them only numbered a total of 5 to 6 days. In such a short period of time, he was able to grant Zhao Yue and the others, who came from Xianxia Kingdom, strength that could rival Mu Xueqing. Don't you think that his ability is terrifying? Only came under him 2 months ago. A total of 5 to 6 days. Where did you get this news? Is it reliable? Hearing this news, the crowd was completely shocked. What kind of place was Xianxia Kingdom? A backward kingdom located in a remote region. It was said that the students there could enter the academy at Fighter 1 Dan, and upon reaching Xianxia realm, they would already be considered as one of the top experts in the academy. In just 5 to 6 days of teaching over a span of 2 months, he was able to groom students capable of rivaling Mu Xueqing. Surely I have heard wrongly? The person I asked is a master teacher apprentice, and she happened to be present during Xiangshia's examination. She heard these words from Xianxia in person, so it's impossible for her to be mistaken. Liu Changyang replied confidently. The person who told him this news was his childhood friend, so it was impossible for the other party to lie. To able to attain such overwhelming strength with just around 6 days of guidance. It might really be possible for Zhao Yue to make another huge leap in just 3 days. Zhao Wuxing nodded in agreement. Even so, didn't Xianxia leave the city for the 2-star master teacher examination? Indeed. Since he isn't here, without his guidance, it'll be difficult for Zhao Yue to triumph over Mu Xueqing. Someone from the crowd exclaimed, and a wave of approval immediately sounded out. Even if Xianxia isn't here, he could have left behind secret manuals for his students to learn. After all, Zhao Yue and the others are vying for his honor now. If they were to lose, wouldn't it mean that he is inferior to this Liu Laoxia? As a master teacher, how could Xianxia be inferior to Liu Laoxia? Liu Laoxia isn't too bad as well, all right? Despite his young age, he has become the guild leader of the Physician Guild. Furthermore, in just the first lesson, he managed to induce a breakthrough in all of the students in his class. If not for his limited talent which prevented him from taking the master teacher examination, he wouldn't be inferior to Xianxia in any way. I still think that Xianxia is stronger. Soon, the crowd began arguing who was better. Some of the students were Zhongxian's fan and were filled with admiration for him. Some were conquered by Liu Laoxia, and as students of Tianwu Academy, they hoped that a teacher of their academy could win against outsiders. They quarreled fervently with one another, and neither side was willing to budge. Before Zhao Yue and Mu Xueqing could fight, a huge argument had started down below. Damn it! How dare they say that Liu Laoxia is more formidable than Zhong Laoxia? Zhao Yue, even I'll look down on you if you fail to beat this Mu Xueqing up today. Hearing the commotion below, Xingyang gritted his teeth furiously. He always had a fiery temper. Otherwise he wouldn't have accepted Zhu Qian Laoxia's student dueling platform challenge back then when the latter treated Zhong Laoxia unfairly back in Hongqian Academy. The reason why they accepted this duel was to defend their teacher's honor and bring glory to him. Yet, over half of the audience here were actually supporting Liu Laoxia, claiming that Zhong Laoxia was inferior to him. How could he take this lying down? Don't worry. If I don't force her into submission today, I will look for Zhong Laoxia myself and ask him to punish me for disappointing him. Grabbing a sheathed sword in her hand, a powerful and cold aura surged forth from Zhao Yue. Who? The crowd opened up a path, and Zhao Yue slowly walked up to the sparring ring. After which, she stood there proudly, as though there was no one in the world who could stand against her. Wang! A shrill sound rang clearly in the air as Zhao Yue drew her sword. She pointed it straight at Mu Xueqing valiantly. Mu Xueqing, do you dare to fight with me using weapons? Why wouldn't I? Mu Xueqing leaped onto the sparring ring as well. In her hand, a saber danced as if it were a mighty dragon, and the air moaned under the pressure of her swings. Her aura abruptly surged as she propelled her Xianxia. The battle was about to begin. Chapter 356, Saber Intent, Sword Intent 2 in 1. It's about to begin. Within a distant towering structure, a few elders were seated. Their gazes were directed toward the sparring ring. Among them was Principal Xie Bai, who had nearly spurted blood from anger while assessing Xianxia, and the most prestigious elders in the academy. Even though Mu Xueqing's duel with Xianxia's student was only a matter between students, there were many implications regarding it. As such, even they were alarmed into action. If Mu Xueqing is able to achieve victory, the prestige of our academy will rise, an elder said as he stroked his beard. Indeed. Even in the millennia of history behind Qianwu Kingdom, Xianxia is, without a doubt, the most talented individual in Qianwu Kingdom Master-Teacher Pavilion. Just his student's terrifying trust level of 85 in him was already completely unprecedented. If Mu Xueqing is able to win, our curriculum will be recognized and praised by countless people. Another elder nodded in agreement. It's true that there'll be huge benefits if we win, but have you considered what will happen if Mu Xueqing loses? Actually, regardless of whether she wins or loses, our academy stands to benefit. The elder from before smiled. Why? The elder who posed the question was unable to comprehend the meaning behind those words. Simple. Liu Laoxia is only an ordinary teacher in our academy, whereas Xianxia is a formidable 2-star master teacher. Losing to such an incredible person can't be considered an embarrassment. On the other hand, if she were to win, the benefits we stand to win are huge. The other elder replied with a smile. Elder Luo is right. Regardless of whether Mu Xueqing wins or not, it's good news for our academy. That's also the reason why I didn't interfere with their duel. Principal Xie Bai gestured grandly. Then, his expression suddenly turned grim as he said, "Look, they've begun." Everyone immediately turned their gazes over and saw the two ladies crossing blows. This move of Xueqing is well executed. It is both forceful and precise. As expected of a member of a distinguished clan, her grasp over her battle techniques has reached an extremely high level. The elders in the room were all experts of Qianwu Kingdom. With a single glance, they were able to see the mistakes in the movements of the two ladies, and they began commenting on them. This move is not bad. Let's see how the other party deals with it. Another elder nodded. However, before he could finish his words, he couldn't help but slap his thigh as his eyes glowed with excitement. Incredible. Incredible. This Zhao Wei is indeed a genius. Not only did she manage to neutralize Xueqing's attack with this slanted stab, she was even able to counterattack. To be able to turn the tides of the battle with a single move, her decisiveness and calmness is incredible. I have only seen such traits on Elder Wu before. Even though her reaction is swift, Xueqing isn't lagging behind at all. Look at her counterattack. Her diagonal slash is precise, and she managed to achieve a perfect balance in her strength. I've seen her with her saber before, but when did she get so formidable? I'm afraid that she might not even pale against Elder Bai. Against Elder Bai? You must be joking. Principal Xie Bai shook his head. Elder Bai has been immersed in saber art for more than 30 years, and he is just a single step away from comprehending saber intent. He's the most powerful saber user in our academy. Look at how old Mu Xueqing is. She might be proficient in saber arts, but she must be still a long way off from comprehending saber intent. You're right. One has to possess an utmost understanding of the saber before one could comprehend saber intent, and not even 1 in 10,000 cultivators could reach that level. In the entire Qianwu royal city, only insane saber Guodier had reached that level. Indeed. Principal Xie Bai nodded. It's not that easy to comprehend weapon intent. Without devoting decades into it, it is impossible to achieve that level. Even though Mu Xueqing's mastery over saber is incredible, she still needs many years of accumulation before she is able to touch that level. The heck? Before he could finish his words, Principal Xie Bai seemed to have witnessed something that he couldn't believe, and vulgarities immediately spouted from his mouth. Upon seeing the other party's discomposure, the other elders also swiftly turned their gazes onto the sparring ring. With a single glance, their eyes narrowed and their bodies began to spasm. This How can this be? On the stage, Mu Xueqing's pitch-black hair was fluttering about as her long skirt danced along with the wind. In that instant, she looked like an elegant fairy. A white saber aura glowed on the saber in her hand. Like a savage snake, it danced about the surface of the saber. The glint of the saber splits the air, and that static aura. This is saber intent. Principal Xianxia felt his throat turned dry. He had just said that it was impossible for the other party to comprehend saber intent without years of effort when this sight occurred. At this moment, his shock was indescribable. Elder Bai had immersed himself in saber art for numerous decades, but he was still unable to take the final step to achieve saber intent. Yet, a teenage lady had succeeded in reaching that level. How was this possible? It is Liu Laoshi. It must be him. An elder yelled out, I have known that Lass Xueqing since her childhood, and I am well aware of how powerful she is. A while ago, she demonstrated her saber art before me, and she was still thousands of miles away from comprehending saber intent. Given how she is able to comprehend saber intent in such a short period of time, it must be Liu Laoshi's credit. I've also heard that Liu Cheng Laoshi had imparted her a saber art a few days ago. Could that saber art be the cause of her comprehension of saber intent? An elder who had visited Liu Laoshi's classroom a while ago said, to comprehend saber intent in just 3 short days. How in the world did this Liu Laoshi do it? Regardless of how he did it, his teaching standard has already reached an astounding level. The other lady is definitely going to lose. Indeed. The only way she can withstand Mu Xueqing, who has comprehended saber intent, is by comprehending sword intent. I have seen her swordsmanship just now. Principal Xianxia shook his head. Even though she isn't weak, she's still a long distance away from comprehending sword intent. Her loss is inevitable now. Cough cough. Principal, that might not necessarily be the case. Look. Before Principal Xianxia could finish his words, an elder interjected. What's wrong? Frowning, Principal Xianxia looked at the sparring field doubtfully. That. Even though Xianxia didn't raise her sword up, there is a light buzz from her sword, and a white aura is flowing around the blade. No matter how I look at it, it seems like sword intent. The elder asked. Sword intent. Everyone hurriedly turned their gazes over. All along, Xiaoya's back had been facing them. On top of that, she had never raised a sword high up, and the elders were also too focused on Mu Xueqing due to her saber intent. Paying careful attention to Xiaoya's sword now, they immediately realized that something was amiss. Just like the elder before had said, her sword was emanating a slight buzz, and a white light was flowing around the blade as though ripples across water. The flowing ripples and the crisp call of the phoenix. This is sword intent. Everyone immediately recognized it to be sword intent. The lady before them, Xiaoya, had actually comprehended sword intent. 2 teenage ladies, one of them had comprehended saber intent while the other one had comprehended sword intent. How could this be? The heck? Can anyone tell me what is going on? To comprehend sword intent and saber intent in just 3 days. If anyone were to tell them such words, they would definitely spit in the other party's face. Witnessing this sight personally, they felt as though their view of the world had crumbled apart. Their hearts were beating so wildly that it felt as though they were going to explode. Principal Xianxia cried. Right after he said it was impossible for Mu Xueqing to comprehend saber intent, the other party immediately displayed it. Then, when he said that Xiaoya would definitely lose, she immediately executed sword intent. Tell me the truth. You two are here to slap my face, right? All right, I'll accept it, but saber intent and sword intent. How could you 2 teenage ladies possibly reach this level? You must be pulling my leg. In a moment, all of the elders in the room were dumbfounded. None of them were able to utter a single word. Qianwu Academy, the residence of the elders. Woo woo woo. An elder moved forcefully around the courtyard with a saber in his hands. The winds from the saber were reminiscent of massive waves, and if one were to be swept in its flow, it would be impossible to escape. Who? After completing his routine, the elder kept his saber and stood upright. Teacher's saber art is getting more and more proficient. You're probably not too far away from comprehending saber intent already. A young man hurriedly passed a towel to him and said with a respectful look, "Sai." The elder shook his head, and melancholy brimmed in his eyes. Even though I can already feel that state and I'm already not too far away from it, if I'm unable to take the final step, it will still be for naught. The elder speaking at the moment was Elder Bai, the person whom Principal Xie and the other elders had been talking about a moment ago. Despite having immersed himself in saber arts for several decades, he was unable to take the final step. Many experts had come close to achieving weapon intent, but most of them were stuck at the very last step, unable to make the final breakthrough until their deaths. Teacher is only lacking a fortuitous encounter. Once such a fortuitous encounter comes your way, all of your accumulation will definitely allow you to achieve a breakthrough in an instant. The young man also understood this logic, and all he could do now was to console his teacher. Indeed, all I lack is a fortuitous encounter. However, where can I find such an encounter? Elder Bai smiled bitterly. If an elder who had comprehended saber intent were to appear before me now, I'll immediately acknowledge him as my teacher. As long as I can observe an expert executing saber intent for a single day, I'll surely be able to comprehend saber intent in less than a month. However, no one in Qianwu Royal City has been able to reach this level. Perhaps, saber intent will forever remain a dream for me. Rather than a concept, saber intent was more like a feeling, impossible to be verbalized. Even so, if an expert who had comprehended saber intent were to display his saber art before him, given Elder Bai's mastery in the field, he could receive an epiphany and this could allow him to take the very last step. However, those who managed to comprehend saber intent were all formidable existences. Who would be willing to be his teacher and demonstrate saber art for him daily? Teacher, there's no need to worry. The young man was about to console his teacher when he saw his teacher's eyes widening and his breathing hastening. Dang Lang! The saber which he treasured as much as his own life dropped to the ground, but the elder didn't seem to have realized it at all. Teacher! His teacher had always been a calm person, and this was his first time seeing the other party get so agitated. He couldn't help but feel perplexed. It's saber intent. An elder is executing saber intent in the academy. Ignoring the other party's question, Elder Bai's face paled and his lips quivered in agitation. Saber intent. The young man was bewildered. He was still too far away from reaching that state, so he was unable to sense the presence of saber intent. Quick, bring me my clothes. I have to head over now to acknowledge the expert who has comprehended saber intent as my teacher. Unable to suppress his agitation, Elder Bai howled. He was currently dressed in a training robe, and he thought that he wasn't dressed formally enough to meet with such an expert. Such experts tended to be eccentric, and if he were to offend the other party, he would be in deep trouble. Yes. The young man recovered and hurriedly fetched his elder robe. Quickly donning it, Elder Bai left and headed straight for where he felt the saber intent from. To think that it would be saber intent and sword intent. At the bottom of the sparring field, Zhao Wuxing and Liu Changyang were completely astounded. Their faces were pale, and their bodies trembled in agitation. When Zhao Wuxing witnessed Mu Xueqing's saber art before, he already knew that he wasn't a match for the other party. However, upon seeing her saber intent, he instinctively realized that if the other party were to try to kill him, given his strength, he would definitely be defeated in an instant, even before he could escape. Even though this Mu Xueqing was also powerful in the past, she was still significantly weaker than them. How did she become so strong in just a few days of absence? To be capable of inducing such a massive growth within his student in just a few days. What kind of person was this Liu Laosha? A duel between saber intent and sword intent. A sudden shout pulled him back to reality from his astonishment. Turning his head to the sparring ring, he saw the two ridiculously beautiful ladies clashing blows once more. The glints of the saber and sword flashed, and they sliced through thin air to meet one another. The moment the two weapons collided, a violent shockwave immediately swept outward as though a tornado, causing cracks of differing depths to appear on the rock floor of the sparring ring. Xianxia augmented with weapon intent was incomparably sharp, and ordinary humans were completely unable to withstand it, needless to say, the rock floor. Damn it! Mu Xueqing's face steeled. After learning Liu Laoxi's saber art, she had comprehended saber intent. She knew that her mastery in saber far surpassed ordinary cultivators, and with her current strength, she could easily defeat even Zhao Wuxing. Thus, she thought that she would be able to defeat the other party easily. Yet, never in her dreams did she expect that the other party's improvement would be greater than hers. In the previous time that they crossed blows, this Zhao Ya was only capable of mediocre battle techniques. Yet, at this very moment, the other party was releasing sword intent. Furthermore, the sword intent was infused with a frigidity that came from her physical condition. Even though her body was protected by the saber intent, the chill was building up in her throughout the battle, and she was already on the verge of collapsing. This Xianxia is really that incredible. The other party's massive improvement must be due to Xianxia's guidance. Only that top-notch genius who had defeated Mo Hongyi utterly and whose name had stunned the 13 kingdoms was capable of inducing Zhao Ya, who didn't know any good battle techniques a few days ago, to display a battle prowess several times greater than that of her cultivation. Even though Xianxia is incredible, our Liu Laoxia won't lose to you. Gritting her teeth tightly, tenacity and indignance sprouted in her mind. Xianxia was indeed incredible, but their Liu Laoxia didn't lose out to him at all. On top of her comprehending saber intent, she had also seen the progress that the cultivating Lu Chong had made, and she realized how fearsome Liu Laoxia's capability was. 3 days ago, Lu Chong was only at Dingli Realm primary stage. A Pishua Realm expert like her could easily tear apart dozens of cultivators at his level. But today, when she saw him, he had already reached the cultivation of a Pishua Realm primary stage. On top of that, he possessed overwhelming physical strength which even Tongxian Realm intermediate stage cultivator might not be able to withstand. In such a short period of time, Liu Laoxia made the averagely talented Lu Chong's cultivation jump 2 realms. Given Liu Laoxia's means, Mu Xueqing was confident that no master teacher could compare up to him, not even Xianxia. Liu Laoxia's name mustn't be sullied. I must win today. Howling furiously inwardly, the light on her abruptly brightened as she slashed frenziedly toward the lady before her. As Mu Xueqing started to grit her teeth and go all out, Zhao Wei also started to panic. She had comprehended sword intent from the sword art grand teacher had imparted her personally. Initially, she thought that she would be able to defeat the other party easily. Yet, the other party's improvement didn't pale out to hers at all. No wonder she is so protective of Liu Laoxia. Seems like her teacher isn't a simple person. In the past, Zhao Ya thought that Zhong Laoxia was far superior to all the heroes in the world. But at this moment, she suddenly realized that there were many formidable people out there. And this Liu Laoxia was one of them. She might be strong, and she is incredible to have comprehended saber intent as well, but it is a pity that her physical constitution is inferior to mine. Exhaling deeply, Zhao Ya's eyes glowed brightly. The other party possessed immense strength and profound moves. However, the other party lacked a strong physical constitution like hers. She possessed the pure yin body, and her unique constitution allowed her to challenge experts beyond her level. In the past duel, it was due to her lacking battle technique that she lost out to the other party. But at this moment, she had already comprehended sword intent, thus allowing her to rival the other party's saber intent. Given that she had made up for her flaw in her battle technique, how could the other party possibly withstand her attacks? Time to end it. Zhao Ya's eyebrows shot up as she drove her pure yin body to full strength. Her pitch-black silky hair danced in the sky, and at this very instant, she felt like a mystical fairy. Even Mu Xueqing, who prided herself on her beauty, couldn't help but feel ashamed of her looks. The pure yin body was capable of bringing out the beauty in a woman. Once it was activated, her beauty would become flawless. As such, it was the physical constitution that countless women dreamt of. Unleashing the full might of her physical constitution, the light on Zhao Ya's sword amplified furiously, and as if it were a dragon, the sword charged straight toward Mu Xueqing. With great might behind it, it struck the saber and sliced it into 2. Without slowing in the least, it continued to proceed forward. Mu Xueqing's face instantaneously turned pale. At this moment, to even her own surprise, What she was worried about wasn't getting severely injured from the other party's sword. Instead, she was worried that Liu Laosh's honor would be sullied. However, her saber had already been sliced apart, and the other party's sword was already right before her. Even if she wanted to dodge or do anything, it was already too late. She could only shut her eyes and wait for the sword to fall on her. Seems like Mu Xueqing has lost. Indeed. It can't be helped either. There's no student in Qianwu Academy who could possibly withstand this slash. It's such a terrifying attack. Even Tongxian Realm primary stage experts would be unable to face such an attack, needless to say, a Pishua Realm cultivator. Upon seeing this sight, everyone's heart jolted. The two ladies were outstanding, but there had to be a loser in a duel. Despite all of the talk before, everyone couldn't help but be astounded when they saw Mu Xueqing falling in defeat. For you to be so determined to pull me over, what kind of show could it be? I still have things to attend to, so I don't have the time to accompany you to such events. Upon walking out of the royal palace, Princess Mo Yu kept trying to pull him somewhere excitedly, causing Zhong Xian to be slightly speechless. He still had to head to the Physician Guild to browse through books as well as to return to the residence to guide Zhao Yue and the others on their cultivation. There were too many things he had to attend to, so how could he have the time to waste on a commotion? Don't be so anxious, we're already arriving. You'll surely be happy to watch this show. Mo Yu chuckled softly. This fellow had always been calm and collected before her. Even though he seemed to be ignorant of everything, he was able to solve all problems easily. This time, two of your students are fighting for the sake of your honor. Let's see how you'll deal with this. We're heading to Qianwu Academy. Since Mo Yu was unwilling to speak, Zhong Xian knew that there was no use for him to ask anything. Thus, he followed the other party quietly. However, taking a good look at the road he was at, he suddenly felt perplexed. He was sure that the direction they were heading toward led to Qianwu Academy. Didn't she want to bring him to see a show? Why would she bring him to the academy? Perplexed, Zhong Xian followed closely behind her. However, the moment he stepped into the academy, he realized that something was amiss. Why isn't there anyone here? It was noon, and the academy should have been filled with people. However, why wasn't there a single figure to be seen? Seems like they've already begun. Let's hurry up. With a grim expression, Mo Yu hurried over to the dueling ring. Since everyone in the academy had disappeared, it could only mean that they had run over to watch the commotion. Both Zhong Shuo and guild leader Liu Cheng were names which had rattled this city at its core. Naturally, the fight between their students would pique everyone's attention. Seeing Mo Yu proceeding forward urgently, Zhong Xian was perplexed, but he followed closely behind. Soon, he saw a huge crowd gathered under a dueling ring, and the sight was extremely bustling. Is someone dueling? Could it be that the principal is facing someone? Otherwise, why would there be so many people here? Blocked by the crowd, Zhong Xian was unable to see the sight in the ring. Even so, he could sense that something was amiss by the huge crowd gathered here. Zhong Xian couldn't think of anyone who could rally so many students here other than the principal. In the end, Zhongshu's students are more powerful than Liu Laosh's students. Seems like Zhongshu's teaching ability is superior after all. You can't really put it like that. Liu Laosha has only taken over the class for 4 days. I think that he is much more incredible to be able to achieve such results in the limited period of time he had. This Zhao Yue is truly beautiful. From today onward, she shall be my new goddess. I didn't expect Mu Xueqing to be so powerful as well. That's saber intent. To be able to comprehend it at her age, she is truly a genius. Standing at the outer perimeter of the crowd, Zhong Xian could hear the discussions of the spectators. Zhongshu, Liu Laosha, Zhao Yue, Mu Xueqing. As though struck by lightning, Zhong Xian's eyes slowly widened. Connecting all of the dots, he came to a fearsome realization. Could it be that the both of them are sparring? That night when Zhao Yue was injured, Mu Xueqing was injured as well. The two of them seemed to have been injured in a fight, and there seemed to be a continuation to each of their matters. Given the size of Qianwu Royal City, it was highly unlikely for the two of them to meet, especially when there was no connection between them. Thus, he didn't consider this possibility. Never in his dreams could he have imagined that not only would the two meet, they even fought each other. "Are you for real?" Quickly turning to look at Mo Yu, he saw a gleeful look on her face, as if she was happy to see the other party put in an awkward position. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Ignoring Mo Yu, he immediately dashed forward and saw the two people sparring in the ring. Who else could it be other than Mu Xueqing and Zhao Yue? Woo woo. Right after recognizing the duo, he saw Zhao Yue driving her pure yin body, and with immense force, she cut through the other party's saber. Mu Xueqing was in danger. Stop. Who? Operating the Heaven's Path movement art, Xianxia's body blurred and appeared in the sparring ring. Initially, Mu Xueqing thought that she had lost. Thus, she closed her eyes, waiting for the final blow to land on her when she suddenly heard the whistling of the wind before her. Then, a figure appeared in front of her. "Teacher!" Mu Xueqing's eyes reddened, and suddenly, all of her emotions came spilling out. Chapter 357. Second Promise Duel. She was obstinate and unruly. Yet, Liu Laoshi forgave her and solved the pill poison that was plaguing her, guided her on her cultivation, and even imparted her a formidable saber art. He was her benefactor. She wanted to repay her teacher by earning him honor. Yet, she ended up sullying his reputation instead. Despite that, he didn't give up on her. Worried that she would be wounded, he even dashed onto the stage to save her. "Teacher, thank you. Teacher, please pardon Qing'er for causing you trouble. Teacher, I'll never do it again." Mu Xueqing clenched her fists tightly. The teacher before her may be young, but his existence felt like a humongous mountain, a reliable figure which she could fall back on, giving her an aim in life and allowing her to charge forward fearlessly. It was because of him that she was motivated to train hard and grow stronger. Just as Zhao Yue was conflicted over whether she should slice all the way down, a figure appeared right between her sword and Mu Xueqing. It was a 24 to 25-year-old young man with a slightly yellowish complexion. Huala. Under the momentary shock from the sudden appearance of the other party, she failed to stop her sword in that crucial moment, and it continued to fall straight down. The young man frowned. Stretching out his hand, he bent his middle finger and flicked it lightly. Wang! As the tip of his finger came into contact with the sword, Zhao Wei suddenly felt a surge of pain in the area between her thumb and her forefinger, causing her grip to loosen. The sword immediately broke into two before flying straight out of her hand.
Ding 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 ding.
Retreating 2 steps, Zhao Wei immediately adjusted her chaotic breathing. Fearful that the other party would attack her once more, she kept her guard up. Fortunately, it seemed like the other party only intended to flick away her sword. It was only due to the immense force of her slash that resulted in the sword breaking abruptly when coming in contact with the other party's finger. Incredible! Her eyes narrowed. It was an attack with the full might of her physical constitution behind it, and the strength behind the slash was so great that even she was losing control of her movements. Yet, the other party, with just a single finger, neutralized her attack without hurting her in the least. The eye of discernment and precise movements required for this feat were completely unimaginable. In fact, she would have never believed it to be possible if not for the fact she had just witnessed it. "May I know why Elder is interfering in our fight?" Even though Zhao Yue was astonished by the sudden turn of events, she didn't panic. Clasping her fist politely, she spoke impassively. Her attitude was neither subservient nor arrogant. "You two are really preposterous." Flinging his sleeves, Xianxia bellowed furiously. He was truly dismal by the actions of his 2 students. Of countless people in Qianwu Royal City, you two just had to fight with one another. Despite being under different personas, the both of you are my students. Is there really a need for you two to compete with one another like that? I imparted one of you a sword art and the other a saber art, but the both of you simply ended up using them to hack at one another. The heck? You call this vying for honor for me? Clearly, you are trying to destroy my reputation. That explains the bizarre expression on Mo Yu's face when she said that she was going to bring me to a good show. The heck? This truly is an incredible show. You must be Liu Laoshi. Having guessed the identity of the young man before her, Xianxia walked forward with a look of determination on her beautiful face. Your students have insulted my teacher, and to defend the honor of my teacher, I challenged her to a fair duel. Why would you speak of our actions as preposterous? Hm. Xianxia was taken aback. It wouldn't have been wrong for Xianxia to reprimand his own students for acting preposterously, but in his persona as Liu Laoshi, that would be equivalent to making light of the other party's actions. It was one thing for him, as a teacher, to hinder a fight among students. Yet, on top of that, he even said that the other party was acting preposterously. If this wasn't being unreasonable, what else could this be? So it is right for your student to hit me, but if I do the same, I am acting preposterously? Enough. Let's stop this matter here. You should return. Not expecting to be questioned by his own student in this persona, Xianxia suddenly felt his head hurt. He really couldn't have imagined that such a farce would occur. If only he had paid these two ladies a little more attention, he could have avoided this embarrassing misunderstanding. Return? Why should we return? Mu Xueqing has clearly lost the duel, so she should fulfill the end of her bet and apologize at this very instant and admit that you are inferior to our Xianxia. Otherwise, even if we have to cause a ruckus at the Teacher Guild or even the Master Teacher Pavilion, we won't back down. Bellowing furiously, Xingyang jumped onto the stage and glared furiously at Xianxia. This time, he was truly angered. How can a respectable teacher like you blatantly side with your own student in public? It is one thing for you to stop the duel as soon as you see that your student is falling in defeat, but to say that we are acting preposterously and declare that this matter will stop here like that. I have seen shameless people, but you are truly one of a kind. As a teacher, are you going shamelessly refuse to admit defeat? Indeed. We've already agreed on it before the duel. Could it be that you are going against your words? A loss means a loss. As a teacher, you should at least have some dignity. Shameless. Yuan Dao, Liu Yang, and the others charged up and bellowed at Xianxia furiously. The reason why I've lost is because of my own inability. It has nothing to do with teacher. Upon seeing her teacher being doubted by others, Mu Xueqing stepped forward. She had intended to vie honor for her own teacher. Never in her dreams did she expect her actions put him in such an awkward position instead. Clenching her jaws tightly together, she said, I'll apologize, but it'll only be in my capacity as an individual. It doesn't mean that my teacher is inferior to your Xianxia. What do you mean by that? After all that has been said, you're simply refusing to admit defeat? Surely you should remember the words you uttered so arrogantly 3 days ago. Are you trying to avoid fulfilling the end of the agreement now that you've lost? Xingyang glared at Mu Xueqing coldly. 3 days ago, you arrogantly declared that Xianxia is inferior to Liu Laoshi, and proposed for the loser of the duel to admit that their own teacher is inferior to the others. How could you simply disregard your words now? Do you think that we're easy targets to bully? Apologize immediately and admit that Liu Laoshi is inferior to Xianxia, and we'll end things here. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting nasty. Liu Yang stepped forward. Aye. Mu Xueqing's face steeled. If she were to admit to this matter here, how was Liu Laoshi supposed to face others and build his prestige in the academy? Enough. Seeing how the few rascals were trying to force their own teacher into a corner, Xianxia felt even more dismal. We'll just take the duel today as a draw. You can return now. He had never seen them getting so motivated in other matters. For his own students to pressure his other students to admit that he was inferior to himself. What in the world was this? Draw. Why should we accept it as a draw? After hearing those words, Xingyang and the others immediately erupted. Even Xianxia, who was usually the most rational one of the group, couldn't help but darken her face at those words. How could a person say those words unabashed? It was obvious that the other party had lost. It was one thing for the other party to not fulfill their end of their promise, but how dare they brazenly claim that it was a draw? Initially, they were still impressed by Liu Laoshi's ability in inducing such massive growth in his student and thought that he was a true genius worthy of respect. But from the looks of it now, the word genius seemed to be completely wasted on him. How could a person who doesn't even dare to admit his defeat be considered a genius? How could a person who pulled his seniority to twist the truth be considered a genius? Do you think that you're really a big shot? To put an act before us, why don't you try your luck somewhere else? You should at least try to retain the final shreds of your dignity. Zhao Wei didn't win, and Mu Xueqing didn't lose either. What else can this be if not a draw? Stop causing a commotion here and return. Otherwise, I will tell your teacher to teach you a lesson. Zhongxian shook his hands. He had no other choice but to announce it as a draw. If he said that Zhao Wei had won, wouldn't that mean that he, in his persona as Liu Cheng, was inferior to Zhongxian? When his identity finally gets exposed, he would really die of embarrassment. On the other hand, if he were to claim that Mu Xueqing had won, wouldn't that mean that Zhongxian was inferior to Liu Laoshi? The consequences were the same. What in the world was this? No matter what he said, he would be the one to take the bullet. Instead of going through so much trouble, he might as well throw these rascals out first. You! Not expecting this Liu Laoshi to act so shamelessly, not admitting to the defeat of his student despite clearly losing, even going to the extent of acting so brazenly about it, Zhao Wei and the others were on the verge of erupting. This truly isn't a wise move on Liu Laoshi's part. Principal Xie and the others shook their heads. He shouldn't have interfered. What in the world is a teacher like him interfering in a fight between the students for? Another elder harumphed. Even so, if he didn't stop the duel just now, Mu Xueqing would definitely be severely injured. As a teacher, he couldn't simply watch idly from the side as his students got injured. Principal Xie replied. That's true. The crowd nodded. On top of guiding them, teachers had a responsibility to protect their students from harm as well before they mature. If they were in Liu Laoshi's place, they would surely be unable to remain idle too if their students were getting injured right before them. The academy is in a difficult position now. If it were to help Liu Laoshi, Zhongshu will be dissatisfied. However, if we help Zhongshu, Liu Laoshi will be angered. What makes things even more difficult is that Liu Laoshi is no ordinary teacher. Not to mention, he's the guild leader of the Physician Guild as well. Helping one side would simply bring the academy the ire of the other. But if we were to wash our hands clean and stay out of the matter, we would risk angering the both simultaneously. After all, we simply watched idly as this duel went on. Principal Xie rubbed his glabella in distress. This matter had truly left him with a splitting headache. A while ago, he was just excitedly thinking that regardless of which of the two ladies won, Qianwu Academy would stand to win. He couldn't have imagined that the things would get to this point. With this turn of events, the entire academy was put into a difficult position. If it comes down it. Principal, why don't you step out and invite Zhongshu and Liu Laoshi to sit down together and get to know one another? After all, given that they're both geniuses, there is a good chance that they might just find fellowship in one another through this. An elder proposed. Principal Xie contemplated over the matter. It's not a bad idea, but Zhongshu is currently in the midst of taking his 2-star master teacher examination and isn't in the capital now. If he were to know of the conflict and refuse the meeting, what should we do? Another elder asked. It was a good method to solve the conflict by having the both of them sit down and talk things out. However, the problem lies in getting them to do so. Liu Laoshi was a teacher of their academy, so at the very least, he wouldn't blatantly turn down the principal's instructions. However, Zhongshu was a 2-star master teacher, and his standing was superior to even that of the principal. If he were to refuse to meet Liu Laoshi, then all of the plans they had prepared beforehand would be for naught. Forget it. I'll just to plead with Zhongshu on this matter. At the very least, I am still a 1-star master teacher and the principal of Qianwu Academy. Zhongshu should probably sell me this favor. After hesitating for a moment, Principal Xie shook his head. Also, prepare a few of the academy's esteemed guest token. I want to give them to Zhongshu's students so that they can freely enter the academy and browse through our books or any other resources. Yes. The elders nodded in agreement. Below, Mo Yu, who initially intended to watch the commotion from below, was completely dumbfounded. She thought that it would interesting see the students of Zhongxian under 2 different identities of his fight one another. However, she didn't expect things to evolve to this point. Xianxia was put in an extremely awkward position with this. Regardless of which side wins, his reputation would be tarnished. I have to stop them. At this, she pushed aside the crowd and walked up.
Xiaoya, Xingyang.
Mo Shi. Just as Xiaoya and the others were burning with anger, they heard someone calling them, and turning around, they saw Princess Mo Yu. Teacher had once taught her, so in a sense, they could be considered as fellow peers. They had met her back when their teacher was taking the master teacher examination. Why don't you all return for now? If Xianxia were to know that you all are causing a ruckus at Qianwu Academy, he would surely be displeased. Nodding her head, Mo Yu tried to persuade them. If not for her selfish motives, Xianxia might have learned of this matter in advance, and things wouldn't have gotten so troublesome. Chapter 358. Second Promise Duel. Hearing those words, Xiaoya and the others glanced at one another and hesitated. Even though they hadn't spent much time with Xianxia, they knew that he disliked trouble. If he were to know that they had caused a huge ruckus at Qianwu Academy, even almost turning against one of the teachers here, he would surely be displeased. But how could they quell the anger in their hearts if they were to leave just like this? Mo Shi, since you are master teacher, please give your judgment on this matter. In this duel, if not for Liu Laoshi interfering, Mu Xueqing would have surely lost. It is one thing for them not to fulfill their end of their bargain, but how could they actually claim that it is a draw? Xingyang complained angrily. All right. Regardless of the situation, Liu Laoshi is still a teacher, so spare him some pride. As for Xianxia, I'll explain this matter to him so that he won't blame you for this. Hearing the other party's furious complaints, Mo Yu was afraid that it would be even harder to resolve the matter if left to be. Thus, she hurriedly sent a telepathic message to them. We'll be depending on Mo Shi then. Xingyang wasn't willing to give up yet, but Xiaoya interrupted him. UN. Mo Yu nodded. Turning to Xianxia, Xiaoya spoke. Liu Laoshi, the only reason why I'm addressing you as a teacher is out of respect for Qianwu Academy. Since you claimed that it's a draw today, so be it. However, Mu Xueqing, I challenge you to another duel 3 days later. Do you dare to accept it? Why wouldn't I dare to? Mu Xueqing gritted her teeth. Good. I hope that Liu Laoshi won't interfere in the duel 3 days later. I also hope that you can fulfill the end of your bargain if you lose. Flinging her sleeves, Xiaoya turned to Mo Yu and clasped her fist. Mo Shi, I'll be taking my leave. After which, she shot Xianxia a cold glare before leading the group out. Not only did Xianxia's interference fail to settle their conflict, he even inadvertently encouraged a third duel between them. On top of that, he even ended up being hated by his own students. Rubbing his glabella, bitterness appeared on Xianxia's face. What in the world was this? I didn't even do anything. Why didn't you warn me beforehand? Dismayed, Xianxia turned to Mo Yu. Mo Yu's face flushed. It was just a conflict between students, so she didn't think much of it. She never expected it to blow up like this and create such an awkward atmosphere. Stumped, she hurriedly rummaged through her mind for an excuse and replied, Actually, this isn't as bad as it seems. With a short-term target in their mind, they will cultivate diligently. Look. Xiaoya and Mu Xueqing improved immensely over the past 3 days. She intended for these words to just dissipate the awkward situation, but it caused Xianxia to freeze momentarily instead. She was right. With this rivalry between them two, they would be motivated to give their all in their training, thus inducing rapid progress in the both of them. Even though the sword art and the saber art Xianxia had imparted them was a simplified version tailored for them, still, it should have taken them a minimum of 10 days to master those techniques and comprehend sword intent and saber intent respectively. Yet, they succeeded in just a short span of 2 days. This reflected how diligent they were in their training. More importantly, through this experience, Mu Xueqing's trust level in him would increase rapidly. Alright, let's see how it goes then. Make sure you don't accidentally reveal my identity to Xiaoya and the others. Eventually, Xianxia decided to simply think on the bright side. What was done, and no amount of complaint could reverse time. After all, he couldn't possibly go around declaring that Liu Cheng was Zhong Xian, and that Mu Xueqing and Zhao Yue were actually under the same teacher. If he were to do so, he would immediately fail his 2-star master teacher examination. Teacher, I'm sorry. Mu Xueqing walked up and apologized remorsefully. Zhong Xian shook his head. Just as he was about to console the other party, an elder pushed through the crowd and yelled, "Which elder displayed the saber intent just a moment ago? Please accept me as your student. I am Bai Xin, and my comprehension of saber has already reached an extremely high level. I definitely will not bring shame to your name." Zhong Xian and Mu Xueqing. Mo Yu. The crowd. Damn it! Damn it! On the way back to the residence, the faces of Xianxia and the others were so livid that a dark aura seemed to be glooming around them. Recalling the vile words that Liu Laoshi spoke, the fury in them blazed up once more. Zhao Yue, why did you stop me? Honestly, if not for you, I would have surely applied for the teacher dueling platform. Xianxia harumphed. Teacher dueling platform? That Liu Laoshi managed to neutralize my offense with just a single finger. To be capable of such a feat, his eye of discernment and grasp over timing might not even be beneath that of Zhongshe. Even if he were to suppress his cultivation, we wouldn't be a match for him. Zhao Yue shook his head. So what if we aren't a match for him? It's clear that he's stepping over us. The results are so clear, and yet, he still dared to announce the result of the duel as a draw. How could he side with his student so blatantly? It's my first time seeing such a shameless teacher. Even if I can't win against him, I must at least teach him a lesson. Xianxia gritted his teeth furiously. Xianxia is right. Even if we can't match up to him, we should at least make things difficult for him. Yuan Dao fanned the flames from the side. Enough. This Liu Laoshi might be shameless, but he indeed possesses true capability. If not for my physical constitution and the sword art grand teacher imparted, I would surely have been the one to lose the duel. The urgent matter at hand is not to insult him but find a way to raise my cultivation instead. If we were to lose the duel 3 days from now, we'll be the ones that are humiliated. Zhao Yue interjected between the furious bellows of the duo. That's right. The group nodded in agreement. Given the previous situation, it was necessary for them to issue another duel. If they simply allowed such provocation to go unchallenged, Zhongshe's reputation might be sullied. However, to be able to induce growth comparable to Zhao Yue in the past 3 days, they had to admit that Liu Laoshi indeed possessed fearsome capability. Given that Zhongshe wasn't in the city presently, they were at a huge disadvantage. If Zhao Yue were to lose, nothing they said would matter. Since Zhongshe isn't around, we can only plead with Grand Teacher to help us. The rest of you must also cultivate diligently in the next few days. If the other party loses and refuses to admit defeat once more, we'll challenge Liu Laoshi to the teacher dueling platform and show him that Zhongshe's honor isn't something that he could simply trample on. Flinging her hands valiantly, Zhao Yue's eyes gleamed with determination. If the circumstances are right, Zhao Yue won't hesitate to cause trouble. Just the fact that she was the very first one to step forward upon hearing someone say that Zhongshe was inferior to Liu Laoshi was a testimony to that. She could forgive the other party for acting shamelessly this once, but if he were to continue on with such an attitude, he shouldn't blame her for getting nasty on him. They were willing to beat up Lu Zun Laoshi in Xianxia Kingdom, and they didn't mind doing it once more for that Liu Laoshi. Good, I've been waiting for these words of yours. Xianxia nodded before turning to Wang Ying, Yuan Dao, and the others. How is it? If that Liu Laoshi continues to act so shamelessly, are you guys willing to blow things up? Do you think that I'll be scared? What Liu Laoshi? Screw him. Yuan Dao bellowed. I won't back down so easily the next time. Liu Yang nodded. Count me in. Determination gleamed in Wang Ying's eyes. All right, it's a promise then. After discussing the matter, they felt their mood lighten. Walking toward the residence, they suddenly saw 2 figures standing at the entrance. May I trouble you to report to physician by that an acquaintance from Red Lotus City is here to pay his respects. A person who seemed to be a butler said to the guards standing at the entrance of the residence. Yes. Upon hearing that they were Physician Bai's acquaintances, the guard hesitated for a moment before heading inside. Soon, he came out with Physician Bai behind him. Physician Bai, we meet once more. Upon seeing Bai Chan, the duo was elated. Bai Chan, on the other hand, was confused. You two are HM. Seeing that the other party didn't recognize them, the duo was perplexed. The butler-like person stood forward and asked, Physician Bai, I am Butler Lu. This is my old master, the Great Herb King. Did you forget about us? The two were Red Lotus City's Great Herb King and Butler Lu. After the incident in the Poison Hall, the Great Herb King found himself being highly respected as the friend of the envoy's senior granduncle. Naturally, no one dared to feed him the contract GU once more. Other people might not know the true identity of the envoy's senior granduncle, but the Great Herb King knew that he was Qianwu Royal City's physician Bai Chan. He happened to have some business in the capital, so he brought Butler Lu to pay the other party a visit so as to touch up on their relationship. As a celebrity in the capital and someone who had managed to leap on board Master Teacher Zhong Xian's ship, it wasn't too difficult to trace Bai Chan's whereabouts. It didn't take them too long to come to this residence. Just that. Why didn't the other party recognize them? The Great Herb King. Bai Chan shuddered. The only reason why he was respected in the capital was because Xianxia had treated the Great Herb King while disguising as him. He could have never imagined that a person of such esteemed standing would actually pay him a visit. Great Herb King, the one who saved you wasn't me. It was Xianxia. The matter went like this. Without hiding anything, Bai Chan explained the entire matter. So it's Xianxia who saved me. May I know where he is now? Is it convenient for me to pay him a visit? Upon hearing the situation, the Great Herb King and Butler Lu were stunned. However, they received swiftly. This matter wasn't too difficult for them to accept. After all, the Great Herb King had personally witnessed Zhong Xian's ability to alter his appearance. It wasn't inconceivable for him to have disguised as someone else back then. Xianxia is currently in the midst of taking the 2-star Master Teacher examination, so he isn't in the residence at the moment. Halfway through his words, Bai Chan suddenly noticed Xianxia and the others walking over, and hurriedly introduced them. These are Xianxia's students. If you have any words you wish to relay to Xianxia, feel free to tell them. Xianxia's students. The Great Herb King and Butler Lu hurriedly clasped their fists respectfully. Xianxia was the envoy's senior granduncle, and just that standing in itself was sufficient to crush them. While his students were still young, the duo didn't dare to disrespect them. The Great Herb King. Upon hearing the introduction, Xianxia and the others were astonished. The Red Lotus City's Great Herb King. On their way to Qianwu Kingdom, Liu Xia had explained the various power within Qianwu Kingdom, and as such, they had a brief idea of the Great Herb King's standing and influence. To think that even such a person would act so respectfully to their teacher as well. Our teacher is currently out at the moment, and he'll only return 5 to 6 days later. May I know what the Great Herb King has for our teacher? We can relay your message to him in your stead once he returns. Xianxia said. Oh, it's nothing much. We just happened to be passing by Qianwu Royal City, so we thought of dropping by to pay our respects to him. Upon hearing that Zhong Xian wasn't around, the Great Herb King was slightly disappointed. Since Xianxia isn't around, we'll be taking our leave then. Wait a moment. Yuan Dao hurried forward and looked at them with a curious expression. I heard that you've an extremely close relationship with the Poison Hall. May I know if you have any poison on you? This. Not expecting the other party to ask such a straightforward question, the Great Herb King chuckled awkwardly. I do have some. Then, do you have any poison that will cause a Tongxian realm expert to suffer without causing any permanent damage? I would like to buy some. Yuan Dao's eyes lit up. A poison that will cause a Tongxian realm expert to suffer without causing any permanent damage. The Great Herb King didn't know what the other party wanted such a poison for, but considering the fact that the other party was the student of Xianxia, he nodded. I do have such poison. If you want it, I can give them to you. However, you must be careful with it. This poison is extremely potent. Even a Xianxia realm expert will suffer greatly if he were to accidentally ingest it. With a flick of his hands, a jade bottle appeared in his hands. Chapter 359, Apothecary Moo. That's great. Chuckling happily, Yuan Dao received it eagerly and kept it in his embrace. We'll be taking our leave then. Since Xianxia wasn't around, there was no point for the great Herb King and Butler Lu to stay here. Therefore, they bided their farewell and left. After the duo left, Xianxia and the others immediately turned to Yuan Dao. What do you want this poison for? Poison from the poison hall were objects of fear which people normally did not wish to be associated with. Thus, they were unable to comprehend why Yuan Dao would ask for a bottle of it. Even though Zhao Ya will duel with that Mu Xueqing once again 3 days later, I still find it hard to quell the rage I have for Liu Laoxia. If I don't get back at him, I won't be able to take it lying. A savage gleam twinkled in Yuan Dao's eyes. You mean that you wish to use this poison to make him suffer? Xianxia's eyes lit up. Indeed. Not only did he break Zhao Ya's sword, he even had us all thrown out. How could he be arrogant? Just because he's stronger than us? I despise this kind of people. Yuan Dao gritted his teeth furiously. He was an orphan and had never feared anyone. Given how vile that Liu Laoxia acted, he could not suppress the urge to exact revenge on the other party. Even if he couldn't hurt him, at the very least, he should make him suffer a little for his actions. I like that idea. Remember to ask me along when the time comes. Xianxia smiled. Hearing the scheme of the two, Zhao Ya shook her head. While she didn't approve of their actions, she didn't try to stop them either. She didn't think that their actions were right, but in the depths of her heart, she secretly desired to get back at the vile Liu Laoxia as well. Oblivious to the malicious intent harbored by his students to do him in, Zhongxian was currently sitting in the classroom, staring speechlessly at the unreasonable elder Bai. Not only did this fellow barge in suddenly, he even begged Mu Xueqing to admit him as her student, leaving Zhongxian in a bewildered state. You're a respected elder of the academy, yet why in the world do you want to take my student as your teacher? On top of that, to be so brazen about it. What is this? Elder Bai, I really cannot be your teacher. The saber art is a creation of my teacher, and without his consent, I cannot impart it to anyone else. Please understand this. It took a great deal of effort before Mu Xueqing managed to persuade Elder Bai to leave. Then, with a reddened face, she walked up to Zhongxian. Teacher, I have brought shame to you. The duel is already over. There's no use blaming yourself for it. Zhongxian shook his head. He was done in by his students, but when he thought about it, both sides were actually fighting for his honor. In a sense, neither side was wrong. The only mistake was that they met each other and that neither of them was willing to back down. I plead for teacher to guide me so that I can become stronger. Seeing that her teacher had no intentions of blaming her, Mu Xueqing felt even more embarrassed. Without any hesitation, she kneeled to the floor with determination glowing in her eyes. Become stronger. UN. Mu Xueqing nodded. After comprehending saber intent, every single movement with your saber can be considered as saber art. In terms of battle technique, you are superior to even Elder Bai, and I've nothing more to teach you in that aspect. As such, there's only one way for you to grow stronger. That is to raise your cultivation. After contemplating for a moment, Zhongxian said, there were two main methods to raise one's fighting prowess: raising one's cultivation and learning a powerful battle technique. Having learned Heaven's Path saber art and comprehended saber intent, Mu Xueqing's mastery of battle technique had already reached a high level. Thus, there was only one way left for her to grow stronger. Raise my cultivation? Mu Xueqing's face immediately turned bitter. If it was that easy to raise a person's cultivation, there wouldn't be so little experts in the world. This was especially so when one had reached Pishua realm. One had to examine every single acupoint carefully before opening it. As such, the opening of each acupoint often required several weeks of studying. In 3 days, it was unlikely that she could get significantly stronger. If it is anyone else, they might not be able to grow much stronger in just 3 days. However, You're different. Seeing the gloom on the other party's face, Xianxia smiled. You've consumed pills from young, and even though it had accumulated pill poison in your body, some medicinal energy had also been stored within you. If this medicinal energy can be triggered through some unique method, it won't be difficult for your cultivation to rise swiftly. Xianxia said. On the way here, Xianxia had already thought about how he could raise Mu Xueqing's strength. Mu Xueqing had been consuming pills from young. Just like fats in the body, a huge reserve of medicinal energy which she was unable to digest had settled inside her body. If this medicinal energy reserve could be triggered, her cultivation would surely be able to rise swiftly. This teacher is able to do so. Mu Xueqing was taken aback. Even though her teacher had phrased the matter simply, having come from a family with an apothecary background, she knew the difficulty of the matter. Needless to say, her father, even the guild leader of the apothecary guild, would be incapable of this feat. The powerful medicinal energy of a pill was somewhat similar to fats, whereby there was a limit to how much medicinal energy a human body can absorb each time. After which, the excess would settle down and be stored in parts of the body. Under normal circumstances, this accumulated energy would slowly dissolve as one's cultivation was raised. However, the process would take several decades. To trigger the medicinal energy that had settled in her body in just 3 days to achieve a breakthrough in her cultivation. How was that possible? I am capable of it. However, you'll have to prepare some things in advance. Xianxia hesitated for a moment. The medicinal energy would hide in different locations depending on a cultivator's physical constitution and cultivation technique. Thus, it would be impossible for anyone else to locate them and trigger them. However, Xianxia was different. Possessing the library of Heaven's Path, he could see the locations of these medicinal energy deposits clearly. After pinpointing them, all he had to do was to trigger them with his pure Heaven's Path Xianxia and transform them into a source for energy to raise Mu Xueqing's cultivation. However, if so much energy were to be released at once, it would be like the fierce torrents from a floodgate that had been opened. If it was Lu Chong, given his mental fortitude, he would surely be able to tide through the agony. However, the same could not be said about Mu Xueqing. Being born in a good family that provided her with large amounts of external support, giving her a significant head start, she wasn't as motivated as others in her cultivation. Moreover, if she were to fail to endure this torrent of energy, it would be one thing to miss the good opportunity, but she might even suffer severe, irreparable internal injuries. Thus, some preparation had to be made beforehand. She would have to nourish and increase her endurance level with some medicinal solution. Condition your body and wait for me here. I'll take a short trip to the apothecary guild. After a short moment of contemplation, Xianxia instructed. The kind of medicinal solution required was similar to the one he previously gave Wang Ying, and only the apothecary guild would possess such material. The apothecary guild? Teacher, why don't I go with you? My father is a 2-star apothecary. He'll surely be able to provide some help with whatever requests you have. Mu Xueqing added hurriedly. All right. Hesitating slightly, Xianxia nodded. The person he was currently impersonating, Liu Cheng, wasn't an apothecary, so it might be inconvenient for him to get what he wanted there. However, with the assistance of an apothecary, he could be spared a lot of trouble. Exiting the mini tutoring classroom, Xianxia proceeded to guide Meng Dao and the others on their cultivation before checking on Lu Chong's progress. This Lu Chong was truly tenacious in his training. He had already undergone the poison tempering 3 times. Although the pain he suffered was excruciating, he had managed to hang on, and thus managed to reap rewards that were proportionate to his suffering. With his current state of cultivation, Lu Chong was in no way inferior to a Tongxian realm primary stage expert. It seemed like defeating a Tongxian real pinnacle expert wouldn't be a problem as long as he persevered a few more times. After settling all of these matters, Xianxia, along with Mu Xueqing, headed straight for the apothecary guild. The apothecary guild wasn't too far away from the academy, and the duo soon arrived at its entrance in an hour's time. Qianwu Kingdom's apothecary guild was much more imposing and grand than Qianxian Kingdom's. Mu Xueqing seemed to have been here often as she maneuvered expertly around the guild to find her father, Apothecary Mu. Thank you, Guild Leader Liu, for resolving my daughter's pill poison issue. After receiving news that Liu Laosha was here, how could Apothecary Mu remain idle? He immediately rushed forward to welcome him. He might be a 2-star apothecary, but the person he was facing was the guild leader of the Physician Guild. On top of that, he solved his daughter's problem and imparted her an incredible battle technique. Grateful to the other party, he greeted Xianxia warmly and respectfully. My daughter told me that Liu Laoxia intends to trigger the medicinal energy accumulated within her body. If there is anything I can be of assistance, feel free to speak. After trading some pleasantries, Apothecary Mu dived into the topic at hand. Previously, when his daughter informed him of Liu Laoxia's intentions, he was astounded. As a 2-star apothecary, he knew how challenging this matter was. If it was anyone else, he would have surely thought that the other party was bragging. However, the person before him was someone capable of even curing pill poison. Perhaps, he could really accomplish this matter that even the guild leader was incapable of. I need a medicinal solution that can reinforce and nourish her internals. The higher the tier of the medicinal solution, the better it is. After which, Xianxia hesitated for a brief moment before asking, "Also, I hope to access the library of your guild. I hope that you can make an exception for me." With the reinforcement and nourishment of the medicinal solution, the potential harm to her body caused by the overwhelming energy would be minimized. This way, the danger of the matter could be reduced. As for his request to access the library, firstly, he hoped to enhance his knowledge of pill forging. Secondly, he wanted to find a method to help Xianxia achieve a breakthrough. Since both parties had agreed on a duel, Xianxia couldn't possibly just help a single side. Xianxia might not have a huge accumulation of medicinal energy in her body, but she was blessed with a pure yin body. Back then, the Unravel Yin pill that she consumed only awakened her unique constitution by 10%. If her unique constitution could be awakened by 20%, her cultivation would surely soar once more. However, the prerequisite to the matter was that Xianxia had to find a way to further awaken the pure yin body. Since he was able to obtain information on the Unravel Yin pill back in Xianxia Kingdom, he might be able to find something similar in this guild too. Leave the medicinal solution to me. As for the library, typically speaking, only official apothecaries are allowed to enter. However, Liu Laoxia is a formidable physician, and there are many points of similarity between physicians and apothecaries. On top of that, you are helping my daughter to trigger her medicinal energy. I will check back with the guild leader on this matter, and perhaps he might be willing to make an exception. After hesitating for a moment, Apothecary Mu said, "Under normal circumstances, a guild's library was only accessible to the members of the occupation. Outsiders had no rights to browse through them. However, the person before him was the guild leader of the Physician Guild, as well as the teacher of his daughter. Even if it meant flouting the rules, he had to try his best to help him." UN. Xianxia nodded. Apothecary Mu backed out of the room, and before long, he returned with good news. The guild leader has agreed to it. Thank you. After instructing Mu Xueqing on how she should condition her body, Xianxia nodded, and under Apothecary Mu's lead, he headed straight for the library. A classroom in Qianwu Academy. Sun Cheng Laoxia, the principal is looking for you. Pushing open the classroom doors, a teacher walked in. The principal is looking for me. Sun Laoxia asked doubtfully. That's right. It seems to be something related to Liu Cheng Laoxia. The other teacher replied. Has something happened to him? Sun Laoxia was taken aback. It can't be that you haven't heard of it yet. Noting the confusion in the other party's expression, the other teacher was speechless. How could you remain nonchalant and conduct your lesson calmly with such a huge ruckus outside? A fight broke out between Liu Laoxia's student and master teacher Xianxia's student. Since you entered the academy with Liu Laoxia and is familiar with him, the principal wishes for you to talk to him on the academy's behalf. The other teacher replied. Liu Laoxia and master teacher Xianxia. Sun Laoxia was dumbfounded. If Xianxia was here, he would have definitely recognized this Sun Cheng Laoxia. It was the unparalleled genius who was currently taking the 2-star master teacher examination along with him. Mo Hongyi. Chapter 360, Wall of Pill Formulae. What's going on? Mo Hongyi was on the verge of going insane. Liu Laoxia and master teacher Xianxia. Weren't they freaking the same person? Their students clashed with one another? What was going on? You sure are serious in your teaching. Sensing the other party's bewilderment, the other teacher immediately filled him in on the details. A student of master teacher Zhongzhuan, if I recall correctly, her name is Zhao Ya, had fought with Liu Lao's student, Mu Xueqing, because of some unknown reason. It seems that they had clashed once before, and today's fight was the second time they faced one another. He quickly recounted the entire matter. Upon understanding the entire matter, a bizarre expression appeared on Mo Hongyi's face. It seemed as though he was trying his best to hold back his laughter, for the students under his disguised persona to fight with his original students, not to mention, so vehemently, as though they wouldn't let this matter go unless they do the other party in. Zhong Xian was probably suffering from a breakdown at this moment. What does the principal want from me? Mo Hongyi asked. The principal wishes to have Zhong Shuo and Liu Laoshi meet one another and settle their grudges. Since you're familiar with Liu Laoshi, he hopes that you can persuade him on this matter. The other teacher said. I have to persuade Liu Laoshi and Zhong Shuo to sit down together and talk it out. Mo Hongyi's expression became even more bizarre. You must be joking. The two of them are the same person. How could Zhong Xian possibly sit down and talk to himself? All right, I'll look for Liu Laoshi and talk to him about this matter. Tell the principal to leave this matter to me. Suppressing his laughter, Mo Hongyi replied. Aren't you a genius capable of everything? Let's see how you'll deal with this. After conversing for a moment longer, Mo Hongyi started walking towards Zhong Xian's classroom. Yuan Dao, where are you going? Why didn't you invite me along? As soon as Yuan Dao walked out of his room, a hushed voice sounded. He quickly turned around and saw Xianxia grinning a short distance away. Yuan Dao hesitated. All right, I know that you're going to cause trouble for that Liu Laoshi. Let's go together. Xianxia rolled his eyes. I'm afraid that teacher will blame us after learning about this. Yuan Dao said. If Zhongshu were to find out about this, he would probably be in for a beating. Since Yuan Dao was resilient to thrashings, he wasn't afraid of it. However, he was unwilling to pull Xianxia down along with him. Don't worry, we're brothers after all. How can I allow you to suffer the blame alone? Knowing his thoughts, Xianxia chuckled. However, I'm afraid that just the two of us aren't sufficient. What do you mean? Simple. If you wish to poison that Liu Laoshi, you will have to sneak into his classroom, right? On top of that, you have to find the container which he stores his water in before you can spike it. You may possess incredible defense, but you're lacking in agility. It's the same for me as well. So, it's impossible for us to do it. At which, Xianxia smiled, unless. Wang Ying. Yuan Dao immediately understood Xianxia's words. Indeed. Why don't we invite her along? Given her movement techniques, she'll surely be able to spike Liu Laoshi's drink without anyone noticing. Xianxia suggested. All right. After giving it some thoughts, Yuan Dao nodded in agreement. It wasn't too difficult for them to convince Wang Ying. That lady was a weak-willed person, so it was normally impossible to convince her to commit such deeds. However, if one was able to grasp her weakness, she was still an easy target. And this weakness was Zhong Laoshi. In the fight for Zhong Laoshi's honor, this Liu Laoshi had shamelessly sided with his own student. Even though Wang Ying didn't say anything then, she was actually extremely angry. Upon hearing that they were going to spike his drink, Wang Ying agreed without much hesitation. After further discussion and refinement of their plan, they trio sneaked out of the residence under the concealment of the night sky and headed towards Qianwu Academy. Under the veil of the silent night, there weren't too many students walking around the campus, and just by asking around for a bit, they were able to find Liu Laoshi's classroom easily. There doesn't seem to be anyone here. Pushing the door open slightly, they realized that there was no one in the classroom, and their eyes shone in delight. They thought that Liu Laoshi or his students would be here, but to their relief, it was empty. Zhong Xian and Mu Xueqing had headed for the apothecary guild, whereas the other students had left right after they were done cultivating. Even Lu Chong, who had been training here for the entire day, had already dragged his wearied body back to his dormitory. At this moment, the classroom was devoid of people. Entering the classroom, they quickly searched and found the teapot and teacups reserved for the usage of the teacher. This is it. Place the poison inside. The trio nodded. Yuan Dao took out the jade bottle and poured the powdery content inside. Overjoyed by how smooth the operation went, the trio was just about to leave when Jia, the door to the classroom, opened. Even though they were astonished, they knew that it was too late for them to hide. Thus, they turned around and faced the person at the door. Is Liu Laoxia in? A voice sounded. Reporting to teacher, Liu Laoxia isn't in. Upon hearing his question, they immediately realized that it wasn't Liu Cheng or his students, and they heaved a sigh of relief. Turning around with a lowered head, Xianxia replied to the other party's question. He isn't in. When he returns, tell him that Sun Cheng Laoxia had visited. The person outside said. Yes. Xianxia hurriedly nodded. UN. After which, the visitor turned around and left. However, a distance away, he suddenly stopped. Why did those youngsters in the room look so familiar, as though he had met them somewhere before? Forget it. Unable to recall anyone who fit those profiles, he didn't think much of it. Thus, he resumed his steps. We should leave now. Seeing that they had managed to get away unscathed, Xianxia and the others immediately took the opportunity to leave the classroom and dashed back to the residence. Who? Heaving a sigh of relief, Zhongxian stretched his back. It took him an entire afternoon before he managed to duplicate all of the books in the Apothecary Guild into his head. Having expended much of his mental strength, he was exhausted. Pure yin body. With a thought, dozens of books immediately appeared before him. He casually flipped them open. Quickly browsing through them, Zhongxian's eyes lit up. Indeed, there were records on the pure yin body in them. Grade 4 Frigid Yin Pill is extremely effective in the awakening of pure yin body. Frigid Yin Pill. Reading through all of the books on the pure yin body, only 2 of them contained content regarding the awakening of the constitution. Both of them mentioned the Frigid Yin Pill. Frigid Yin Pill, a grade 4 pill, forged with medicinal herbs of extremely cold attribute. It is an extremely valuable pill. The content of the book was verified by the Library of Heaven's Path, so Zhongxian was certain that the pill was useful for the awakening of the pure yin body. However, it wasn't long before another dilemma struck him. There were number 4-star apothecaries in Qianwu Kingdom, and naturally, there were no grade 4 pills either. Thus, the only way to obtain the pill was to purchase it from the headquarters. Moreover, it was highly probable that it would take several days for the pill to be delivered here, just like when Zhongxian ordered the Unravel Yin pill from Qianxian Kingdom. However, Zhao Yue and Mu Xueqing's duel was in 3 days' time. It was impossible for the pill to arrive in time. More importantly, a grade 3 pill was already sufficient to send him into bankruptcy. A grade 4 pill was bound to be worse. It was probably impossible for Zhongxian to afford it. If I have the pill formula, I may be able to guide someone to forge it. A thought appeared in Zhongxian's mind. He might be incapable of forging pills, but he could guide someone to do so. However, the prerequisite for that was that he had to have the pill formula. Otherwise, given the countless medicinal herbs in the world, he would be dead before he could find the formula for it on his own. The pill formula for the Frigid Yin pill. With a flick of his mental consciousness, he swiftly looked through the contents in the Library of Heaven's Path, but soon, his face fell. Despite the innumerable books in the Qianwu Kingdom's Apothecary Guild, there weren't any books that recorded the formula for this pill. Nonetheless, it wasn't long before Zhongxian came to a realization. The Frigid Yin pill was a grade 4 pill, while the most capable apothecary in this guild was a 3-star. Thus, how could such an advanced formula be in the library? Without the formula, I'll be unable to forget the pill. What should I do? Zhongxian rubbed his glabella. After all, he couldn't just help Mu Xueqing and neglect Zhao Yue. In this case, it wouldn't be a duel, but a one-sided battle. Forget it, I'll ask about it later. By the time Zhongxian walked out of the library, the sky had already darkened. Liu Laoxia. Apothecary Mu rushed forward to greet Zhongxian. The other party was working diligently for the sake of his own daughter, skipping his meals and studying for long hours. This had made him extremely grateful to the other party. Apothecary Mu, is there anyone in our guild who possess grade 4 pill formulae?
Xianxia asked.
Even though there was no grade 4 pill formula in the books in the library, some of the apothecaries might have it in their private stash.
Grade 4 pill formulae.
Apothecary Mu shook his head. Our guild doesn't have any pill formula of this level. However, if you wish, it's possible to apply for it from the headquarter.
Apply from the headquarter.
Xianxia smiled bitterly. Then, wouldn't it take at least half a month before the pill formula arrives? He knew that the headquarter would surely have the pill formula, but the travel time, to and fro, from the closest conferred kingdom, Shenyuan Kingdom, to Qianwu Kingdom, was at least half a month. Even if he were to apply for it right now, it would be impossible for the pill formula to arrive on time.
Half a month.
There's no need for that. If it's a pill, a tangible object, it'll have to take at least half a month. However, the pill formula will appear on the wall of pill formulae straight.
Apothecary Mu smiled. Wall of pill formulae.
Xianxia was taken aback.
Indeed.
Similar to the wall of dilemma of the Physician Guild, the wall of pill formulae is connected to the headquarter. Through the wall of pill formulae, apothecaries who have reached a certain rank can pay a price to request for a pill formula which grade isn't too far beyond their rank or knowledge.
Apothecary Mu explained.
Oh. Upon hearing the name, Xianxia immediately looked up related information among the books in the Library of Heaven's Path. Just like what the other party said, the wall of pill formulae was similar to the wall of dilemma in the Physician Guild. It was connected to the headquarter, and as long as one was able to pay the price, one could request for a pill formula or information from the headquarter. However, to make use of the wall of pill formulae, one must at least reach the level of a 3-star apothecary. Apothecary Mu was only at 2-star pinnacle, so he didn't have the right to use the wall of pill formulae. If that's the case, do I have to take the 3-star apothecary examination?
Xianxia hesitated.
He wasn't too worried about taking the apothecary examination, but everyone knew that Xianxia's pill forging was incredible and he would surely attract the suspicion of others if he were to do so. How many 3-star apothecaries are there in the guild?
Xianxia asked.
Initially, our guild leader was the only 3-star apothecary. However, some time back, Apothecary Hong Yun managed to achieve a breakthrough and became a 3-star apothecary as well. The others are all 2-star pinnacle just like me, a step away from reaching 3-star. Thus, only the 2 of them have the qualifications to make a request on the wall of pill formulae. At this, Apothecary Mu glanced at Xianxia doubtfully. Does Liu Laosha require grade 4 pill formula? However, even if we were to obtain the pill formula, it will be for naught if we can't forge it.
Apothecary Hong Yun? Where is he? Bring me to him.
Upon hearing Apothecary Hong Yun's name, Xianxia's eyes immediately lit up. This fellow was the arrogant fellow who delivered the Unravel Yin pill to him back in Qianxian Kingdom. They had also met while he was taking the Master Teacher examination. Upon Apothecary Mu's reminder, he suddenly recalled that the latter had indeed reached the level of a 3-star apothecary. Since he was able to make a request on the wall of pill formulae, Xianxia could totally engage his help. This way, he could avoid taking the 3-star apothecary examination, as well as attracting unneeded trouble. Thank you for listening to PandaAudioBooks. If you love what you hear and want to support my work, check out the PayPal link in the description. Every bit helps. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to stay updated with all our latest audiobook chapters.
We'll see you in the next one.